Blank check with Griffin and David. Blank check with Griffin and David. Don't know what to say or to expect. All you need to know is that the name of the show is Blank Check.
Your Majesty, I have more in common with a podcast than I have with you.
I love podcasts. I've always loved podcasts.
Oh! Oh! Hello, everybody.
Welcome
to this podcast. I hope you love podcasts. I hope you've always loved podcasts.
Yes.
My name's Griffin Newman.
David Sims.
This is a podcast. It's called Blank Check with Griffin and David. Now comes a colon.
Colon ascending,
colon
the
ascending.
Wachowski casters.
My colon's ascending into my body, deeper and deeper. Because this is a mini-series we're doing. We're starting to hit the end of this mini-series. It's called the Wachowski casters.
Making a sad face.
I mean, David was trying to make a sad face, but it just looked like Donald Duckbeak. He was making a duck face. He stuck his lips out. It was trying to be a pout, but it just looked like he was trying to kiss somebody.
Yes.
And this is a movie about kissing. In a way, it has a kiss. I don't know.
It has like a kiss or two.
Yeah, I'm really exhausted.
Tired.
Yeah. A lot of times when we do this podcast, I say that I'm tired because I didn't sleep well the night before. I'm tired because I wrap the TV show.
What's this now?
The Tick.
Explain.
Le Tick.
That's the French title.
Le Tick. We stocked up those episodes in advance, so you haven't missed a week. But this is our first time recording in 3 weeks.
Dude, it's been so long since I've seen Griffin Newman. It's actually crazy. I've missed him a lot.
Absence makes
it's
the
actually
heart
been
grow
really sad.
fonder.
Yep.
But yeah, in the time in between our Cloud Atlas episode and our Jupiter Ascending episode today,
you made the Tick.
I made the Tick. I made a pilot. The pilot will go online in August.
Cool.
Anyone can watch it. Prime membership or no.
Oh, the pilots are for everybody?
I believe it's for everyone.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And then they'll see if people like it, and if so, we get to make more of it. So keep your eyes open on the Amazon homepage. They got some good deals coming up on toilet paper, but also in August there'll be a pilot.
Yeah, I recently bought some pantry moth traps from Amazon Prime, and they appear to be working.
Preparing for my role as Arthur, the man in the moth suit.
Very good point. That's what it was all about.
Yeah.
Not my pantry moth infestation.
Yep. Tie-in. Promotional tie-in.
Yeah.
Finish the show.
Good. How'd it go?
I think it's really good.
I'm holding a microphone up to you.
Yeah.
Even though you're talking into a microphone.
I think it's going to be good.
Great.
We worked real hard.
Nope.
I tried to constantly step out of my head and just sort of view it as you're a Tick fan. What would you want to see from this show right now? And both make my decisions based on that. Not based on what I think the people want to see, but based on what I would want to see as a fan of this property, because that's all I can fucking do is make the show that I would want to see.
I understand.
But I would also sort of try to look at the show surrounding me and be like, yeah, I think this is the show that I would want to see as a fan, that I do want to see as a fan. I have some problems with the guy that cast as Arthur. It's going to be hard for me to watch it because I'm not a big fan of Griffin Newman project.
Nope.
Sounds like I'm making a joke. I'm not.
No, I get it. You don't want to watch yourself on screen. It freaks you
terrible.
out. Yeah.
Terrible.
No. I don't like it
I'm my least favorite actor. But I think the show's really good.
Peter Serafinowicz is in it.
Killed it. People are gonna fucking come when they hear his voice and see him in the suit and everything. It's it's really dead on.
I've seen pictures of you in your super suit.
I showed you pictures.
Top secret.
Top secret. I'll say this. There was a moment when I was in the suit and I was looking in the mirror on set, not even in my, but with the lights on me and everything on set, but in the scene, I'm looking at myself in the mirror.
I get you.
And I had the helmet with sort of the antenna and the goggles and everything in my hand. I was holding it under my arm, and I was like, I kind of look like Speed Racer right now.
Nah.
It had a sort of Speed Racer-y vibe, the jumpsuit.
I rewatched Speed Racer while you were
again.
filming the Tick. I did. I bought it on Blu-ray and rewatched it.
I did too. I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah.
You buy it from Amazon?
Yeah, I
Good.
did. I don't want to promote this
company.
Yeah, whatever. All
Good
right.
company. But yeah, Tick is finished.
Do you think you could talk Amazon into just hosting this podcast into turning it into an Amazon empire?
Yeah.
Just like
make it part of
building
Prime.
Yeah.
Yeah. Seriously, honestly, you joke. I'm getting my fucking hooks in with them because they got so much money to spend. I'm gonna start pitching them anything.
Oh
I'm gonna start pitching Kindle singles.
What about that merch we've been trying to get to?
Yeah.
Just have a merch section.
Exclusive provider.
You know what? This is all well and good. This is all fun and games.
Yeah.
But we do have to talk about the film Jupiter Ascending.
Yeah, I just thought, first episode back, I want to
on my
acknowledge
list.
that I'm done with the tick.
It's on
We
my
got it.
list.
We got it through.
Talking about the tick.
I'm very
Should
proud
I put
of
a
it.
tick next to it?
Yeah, please do. Very proud of it. Going up in August. I think you'll probably see some stuff coming out sooner rather than later.
Oh, yeah?
I'm in the
A little
process.
bit of footage?
I don't know. You want to hear the worst task in the world? My current thing I need to get done by the end of this week is they sent me a file of like 500 photos. And I have to go through
have to,
all
like,
of them and
pick?
approve, or reject them.
Oh, my God.
But they're like from a photo shoot of like me and my wardrobe. So it was like every 5 seconds they were like, try this. What if it was one hand? What if you're looking out to the left?
You have to
the right?
You actually have to serve as an editor. Like, these are not
Yes.
screened. Like,
No, not at
already.
all. And some of the photos are clearly me being like, can you say that one more time? And I'm like, my eyes are closed and I'm like leaning forward to try to hear what they're saying. We're terrible. I hate it. I do 10 at a time, then I have a panic attack.
What's Peter Serafinowicz really like?
Great, lovely, British.
What about Jackie Earl Haley? Did you deal with him much?
Gentleman Haley, you're talking about?
Sure.
Gentleman Jackie?
Gentleman Jack.
He's, I don't,
Saucy Jack.
this isn't a spoiler, I don't have any scenes with him.
Yeah. I think you
He
mentioned that to me.
he interfaces with, the younger version of myself.
The baby version. Yeah.
He's in like a flashback, an extended flashback. And then the sort of setup is as the season goes on, I would try to build towards the reunion, the second meeting of him, where I am out for vengeance. Great actor.
Cool.
Super, super terrifying.
Cool.
Very nice. I mean, he's just like, oh, hey, how's it going? And then they go like, and action. He goes like, I will destroy you.
Cool.
And he like looks like a mummy. They got this makeup on him.
I
He
saw
looks like a mummy.
the set photos.
Yeah, if you want to see photos of something, they were filming outdoors in McCarran Park, and the paparazzi came out, and it was all over Daily News and stuff. You can find the photos online.
Did you ask director Wally Pfister,
Mhm.
who directed the pilot of The Tick, but also the film Transcendence,
Yes.
if he had any stories about Johnny Depp's appearance in M. Night Shyamalan, The Buried Secret of M. Night Shyamalan?
I did not.
Damn it! Griffin, you had one thing to do.
And for that, I say to our listeners, I am sorry. I have failed you.
You ever say, hey, Wally, what's Johnny Depp like? And he's like, oh, Johnny Depp's a nice guy. I'm like, so here's my question, Wally.
Yeah.
Why was he in The Buried Secret of M. Night Shyamalan?
Great question.
All right.
Wally did show me a picture of him playing guitar with Johnny Depp and Paul McCartney.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. And then
Do
I
you
was
think
like,
that picture is starred in his photo album so
Oh, it
we can
definitely
access
was.
it easily?
because it was from a couple of years ago, and he pulled it up real fast. I showed him the picture, and I said, Wally, it's very cool. Can we
Shoot
Can
the
we
scene?
shoot?
Can we shoot the scene now?
I'm tired.
Did
And I'm in a
Paul
hot
McCartney
suit.
write an original song for Transcendence that was rejected by Wally Pfister
Yeah, of
for
course.
inclusion in the film? Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
Called We Are All Computers.
Yeah, that was
No.
the title. Yeah. Cuckoo
Called
Choo.
I'm Married to a Computer Zombie.
Yeah.
What a weird movie.
Yeah.
Get your phone away
yes,
from that
I know,
fucking
the
speaker.
fucking thing. Okay. Talked about the tick. Wore out everyone's
Tick.
patience for that. Tick. Checked off. Here's a little bit of housekeeping that connects to that. From the corrections department, got an email or a tweet rather correcting
An
our
email tweet.
pronunciation of the name of the third director of Cloud Atlas, which
Tom-
we said was Tom Twyker.
Tviker.
Guess what it is?
What?
Tom Tickver.
Tickver. Yeah, well, you know.
Tick.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
That was the
here.
correction. He
That's
was
the
like,
correction.
I think it was
Tick.
Pat Reynolds maybe tweeted him, was like, you of all people should know this.
Cool.
Great. Done talking about that.
Any other housekeeping?
Housekeeping. We got a book report. We're gonna read that at the end of the
That's
episode.
later. We'll do a Berg report.
We'll do a burger report. Here's one more thing I want to do at the top of the show before we get into the movie.
That's kind of what I was asking.
yes.
Jesus Christ.
We have this film, Jupiter Ascending, the most recently released theatrical motion picture from the Wachowskis. We have Sense8. David's making his pouty face again. This time it actually looked pouty. He nailed it this time.
Then we have Sense8, their Netflix series.
Yeah, and then we're going to do a bonus episode on the Animatrix and sort of the Matrix appendix sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Then we're done.
Yeah.
Book closed. Wachowskis, put them on the shelf for now. Sad face.
Yeah.
I feel like with the directors we've covered, when they have a new film come out, we'll do a one-off. Like we have to keep up.
I'm
with
waiting.
Yeah, we're just
waiting.
waiting.
Gonna make another movie in a while. I
hope so. But Shyamalan's in production. I mean, I think.
Yeah,
when,
no.
What's that film called? Switch.
Split.
Yeah, when
think?
Split comes out, we'll
Yeah.
do a one-off, a palate cleanser.
Switch
sherbet.
is a great character in the film The Matrix.
God, Switch.
Not
though.
like this.
No,
not
not
like
like
this.
these. Switch though. But what does that?
APOC.
What does that mean? Tank. Dozer. Cypher.
I miss them. I miss them all.
They're good friends.
I already miss them.
That's why we're doing the Animatrix episode, because I want an excuse to go back into that world.
Switch prequel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Matrix Origins Switch. Switch though. Okay, so this miniseries is almost done. Put it on the shelf. Time for a new miniseries. And just to clarify, because we did a bad job setting up the show, this show is based on a miniseries where we go through directors.
I hope you're not listening first to the Jupiter Ascending episode.
Oeuvres, and then try to look at what post blank check what movies they make after they've had massive success early on. It's time for a new miniseries.
We need a new subject. And, honestly, when we were doing our George Lucas stuff, we already had Shyamalan and Wachowski's in the chamber. We had that planned for a long time. Ever since then, we've basically just batted a lot of names around.
And we've never been able to settle on one. So we have 4 finalists.
We have 4 finalists? Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
We have 4 finalists. We have a couple more. We're going to save them for the next.
We have 4 finalists. Yeah, there's others in the hopper.
Right.
Yeah. They're still in the barrel. We're like a whiskey distillery.
Yes.
And they're still aging.
They're aging. And here's another thing with those ones, not to give any spoilers, but they have qualifiers.
Yeah, it's more like we're trying to squeeze them into this weird premise we have of directors whom Hollywood writes blank checks
and
to.
it's directors in a certain period. We wouldn't cover the entire filmography.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
2 of them, I think, fall into that, who are not going to be part of this poll.
Well, all right. Well, give me the 4 names.
The 4 names for this poll are...
Yeah.
Cameron Crowe.
Cameron Crowe. Now, I think he would be fun. We can sort of advocate for any of these guys, but he'd be fun because he's a little different.
Not a genre director.
Genre-wise, exactly.
Yeah.
More of a sort of comedy, sort of contemporary comedy romance type guy.
Yeah. We love ending these miniseries on sort of a sense of redemption and hope of what comes next. He has his series Roadies premiering over the summer. So we would sort of dovetail in with that nicely.
This
idea of maybe. Well, I mean, who knows? But I like the idea of a possibility.
But I think Cameron Crowe's is also his blank check movie. I don't know if you want to say it's Say Anything or Jerry Maguire. I don't know which one it actually is.
Kind of had a couple.
But he became a guy who could do anything he wanted, and he bought a zoo.
He bought a zoo.
And then he cast Emma Stone as an Asian woman. He's done a lot of things.
Yeah, I think it'd be a great one to talk about.
A lot of stuff in there. Good movies and bad movies.
Yeah, and it's a perfect number of films too.
Yeah, it's a nice size. All right, so
Cameron Crowe. See if you can make sense of the chain I'm doing here on these films, okay? Cameron Crowe. Next name, James Cameron.
Same. There's a similar name in there.
Yes, they share a common name. Yeah. Jimmy Cameron.
So I feel like James Cameron's an obvious blank check guy. Because he almost never makes movies. Whenever he does, they are multi-billion-dollar spectaculars.
Yeah.
He's just a blank check guy he's never bounced a check.
He's never bounced a check.
That's the difference with him.
Yeah.
He keeps going crazier, and it keeps working out for him.
Yes.
And by the way, I was discussing this with friend of the show, Katie Rich. If we do him, we have to do a Ghosts from the Abyss episode.
Oh, no question.
No question.
Ghosts of the Abyss, and what's the other one called? Secrets of the Deep?
I don't know if we have to do that one.
They're both, I looked it up, they're both 45 minutes long.
Great. Well,
so
we'll
we do them as one episode.
Well, we have to rent out an empty IMAX theater to watch them in.
Correct.
Okay, I agree with you. Great.
Yes.
Yeah.
But Jimmy Cameron, also perfect number of films.
Yeah, so we're going to need several $1,000 from our fans to rent the IMAX theater, just FYI.
We'll start a Patron.
So a lot of people wanted us to do James Cameron because they want us to be on the James Cameron episode.
Yeah.
But when we talk to our friends about this,
everyone wants to be on the Titanic episode.
Titanic's very hot, But I think, he'd be obvious. He'd be so much fun. And plus, we'd have to watch Piranha 2: The Spawning.
Yeah, now, there's no question we do them at some point. The question is now. We've always sort of had some sense of maybe wait a little bit, but if the listeners want it now, we'll do it now.
Don't worry. If we don't do it now, we'll do it later.
All 4 of these people we're going to do at some point. We're asking you to pick which
3?
one we do next. Number 3 is keeping the chain going, Catherine Bigelow.
Okay.
Okay?
His ex-wife.
Ex-wife of James Cameron.
Yeah, she's the toughest because she has not gotten a blank check from Hollywood. in a long time. She has.
I think she's gotten 2.
Yeah, Strange Days and K-19. Those are your 2s.
No, I think Zero Dark 30 is a blank check movie.
Yeah, I guess so. How much did it cost? It doesn't matter. We'll get into that.
Cost a lot, made a lot.
Yeah. It did. Yeah.
Fascinating career.
Fascinating career, but as someone who's had to scrape and fight for her films at times.
And I think that's sort of what that series would be about.
K-19 is a blank check movie. It's a Russian submarine movie. It costs like $120 million.
But I think that was her for hire. You know what I'm saying? That wasn't her passion project. That's what I'm saying. They gave her a big check.
We would have to watch K-19, The Widowmaker.
But, I mean, this is the other thing. I'm fascinated by. I've only seen like half of her movies, so it'd be interesting to explore half of them. I haven't seen, what's the one with Jamie Lee Curtis?
Blue Steel, I think it's called, or something like that.
Right. I haven't seen that. I haven't seen K-19. I haven't seen The Weight of Water. I embarrassingly have never seen Near Dark.
Oh, Near Dark's amazing.
Yeah.
Anyway, she'd be fun.
She'd be fun.
She'd be different.
Yes. And we'd look at sort of the difference of like, a woman, fighting, for these sort of chances.
Wait, she's a woman?
She's a lady.
Oh, she's off the list.
She won an Oscar. No, but the Hollywood isn't so quick to give out blank checks.
All these guys have Oscars, by the way. Cameron Crowe, James Cameron, Catherine Bigelow. They've all Oscar winners.
Interesting.
They're Oscar winners. We've never covered an Oscar winner. George Lucas doesn't have an Oscar unless you count that dirty Thalberg Award. M. Night hasn't got an Oscar. The Wachowskis have no Oscars.
Nope. Yeah. Okay, so if you want an Oscar winner, pick one of those 3.
Because the next one has not even been nominated in a tragic shame.
And that's if you want that. If you want someone who's still
Griffin threw this out at me, and I was like, wait a second.
Yeah. Because it's a weird idea. I came up with it last weekend, because the other ones we've had stewing in the hopper for a while, right?
Yeah. No, shoot it.
Shane Black. But it would be as director and writer.
Yeah, because he's only directed 3 movies.
And he's only written 5 or
additional
6,
movies,
depending
like
on how you keep count beyond that.
Famous action screenwriter of the 80s and 90s, Lethal Weapon, Last Boy Scout, Long Kiss Goodnight, Last Action Hero, which, talk about a blank check movie.
The highest paid screenwriter in Hollywood for a long time, then fucking checks out, disappears.
Blank checks out.
He blank checks out. He does the opposite of what Dunstan did. He takes a cue from Bizarro Dunstan.
No,
yes, David.
I refuse.
Yes!
I refuse.
1 million comedy points.
Oh, everyone is turned off.
Yeah.
Everyone except for the diehard listeners are
This
not
episode's
listening.
for diehards, though.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Should have made the Sense8 episode for diehards because it doesn't matter.
Sense8's what's going to win us the Webby.
Then he directs Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, Iron Man 3,
but after like
The Nice
7
Guys,
years of being
now.
in the wilderness, yes.
Have you seen it?
I have.
How is it?
You haven't seen it yet?
No.
I was disappointed, but I also am ready to give it a second chance.
Yeah.
I liked it. I just had heard so many rapturous things from other people.
We'll see.
Felt like I didn't get it, but his screenplays are dense. Sometimes they take a couple times.
Kiss Bang Bang is one of my favorite movies ever made, and Iron Man 3 I think is the best Marvel movie outside of the Avengers.
I look at the two as being they switch places for me, but it's like Iron Man 3 and the Avengers. Films. Yes, depending on the day, I rank them as 1 or 2. But those are the 2 Marvel movies I
think the Avengers is you got to take that number 1 because it's kind of the platonic ideal of the movies Marvel wants to make. I think Iron Man 3 is sort of a weird special thing.
Yeah, can I say this? I think
Iron Man 3 also lacks a great villain. It has a fine villain.
I like it a lot.
He's fine.
I think the Avengers is the best Marvel movie. I think Iron Man 3 is the best movie that Marvel has made.
And it's one of the best Christmas movies ever made.
Yeah, it's a great film.
It takes place all on Christmas Day.
Yeah, that's the big argument for Shane Black is we really want to fucking talk about Iron Man 3. But there are a lot of goodies
I
want
to talk about Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Yeah, but we've talked about doing an Iron Man 3 1-off for a while,
I know.
too.
All right.
Yeah,
so
we'll
anyway,
talk about all those films.
So you don't like my Colin Farrell idea, huh?
I just think with actors it's tough because it's like 40 fucking films.
I know. But I
don't want to just be like, we only do the good ones.
He's the ultimate blank check actor.
Yeah.
One day I'm going to convince you.
I don't want to do the we only do the good ones thing. And the other people who are off this poll who are sort of the qualified miniseries are the ones where it's like covering this person from this specific time period.
Yeah.
Or only their films in America or things like that.
Those are the 2. Right. I get
but it's like if you lock it into like parentheses, I think it works. If you just go like, Colin Farrell, but we're only going to do some of them. Because, like, we don't want to do an episode in the Total Recall remake.
Yeah, we do.
That having been said, saw The Lobster this weekend. Good movie, though.
My favorite movie of the year.
Fucking loved it. It's that and Wiener for me. I saw both on the same
too.
day.
I just saw Wiener again for the second time yesterday. Wiener's great.
I'm going to see both second time. They're both jockeying for number 1 for me. They're both, I think, great films. Yorgos Lanthimos guy, good director.
I'm a huge fan of his. You guys check out Dogtooth and Alps, which are his other films. Anyway, so.
Those are the 4.
We'll put a poll up. You guys can vote, but also just tweet at us all the time, every time at Blank Check Pod. My brain's not working.
Yeah,
Let's
me
go.
neither. Okay, great.
Jupiter Ascending. Let's go.
Okay, so here's what's nice about doing this movie. When we started this podcast, when it was previously Griffin and David Present,
Yeah.
Our very first episode.
Here's my tweet.
Oh, well, David's now interrupting my... I was trying to get to the movie at
it
hand.
finally loaded.
It finally loaded. We'll leave that up because this ties into this episode, so I'll make that later.
When we were doing our Star Wars podcast, yeah.
When we were doing that was terrible for our listeners. David just interrupted to show me a tweet that he was proud of. That was a joke relating to something we talked about before we recorded.
Yeah, exactly. A tweet I've been trying to load for an hour.
Yeah, the Wi-Fi is really bad here.
No, when we were doing
in our very first episode, when we were sort of explaining why we were doing this silly concept, which was talking about the Phantom Menace as if the other Star Wars movies didn't exist, we said, like, we want to remove the context that everyone's viewing this film and judging it against the others and look at it as what it's pretending to be, which is just the first movie in a new franchise without the baggage tag.
Yeah.
Right? And we said, like, it's like if it was just Jupiter Ascending.
Right. We talk about it in our in more than one of our early episodes.
Yeah, but in the first one, I was at the very early sort of reference point we threw out. It's like, we want to try to view the Phantom Menace like it's Jupiter Ascending. And we both, very early on, we're like, by the way, we just saw Jupiter Ascending. We love it.
Fun movie.
We love it.
Liked it.
Why is everyone else shitting on it? It's now been over a year. We've been doing this podcast, right?
Yeah, Jupe Ascend came out February 6th, 2015.
Yeah, and I think we started like the week after that. Right, yeah.
Oh, no, because we were recording. Right, anyway.
Right. Anyway.
Oh, my God.
One could say we've been building up to talking about this film at length since the very beginning of the show, past incarnation.
Of course, that's exactly what this is.
Our lives are not our own. We're cycling over and over again. Rebirth. It's like Cloud Atlas.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're a new life, and we get to talk about Jupiter Ascending.
Yeah, we're all food for galactic royalty.
Now, who gets to talk about Jupiter Ascending? Myself, Griffin Newman. Yourself, David Sims.
Yeah.
But also, there's a third amigo.
Who recently told me this just an hour ago that he thought this movie was silly.
Yeah. It's okay. I didn't hate it.
So I'm going to do his names. His name is Ben Hosley, and he's the producer of the podcast.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, agreed. You also might know him as Producer Ben.
Yeah.
Producer Ben, the Ben Deucer, the Poet Laureate,
goes.
the Haas, our finest film critic, the Fuckmaster, the Tiebreaker, Birthday Benny, Mr. Positive. I said the Poet Laureate. He's not Professor Crispy.
Peeper.
He is the Peeper.
You always forget about that one.
I know. It's because he's not in the room with us. He's not peeping right
anymore.
now.
Yeah.
They have to install a window so we can see him peeping at us.
Yeah.
He also, has graduated through miniseries to titles such as Producer Ben Kenobi, Kylo Ben, and Ben Night Shyamalan.
What's his Wachowski title going to be?
I don't know.
We
Tweet
gotta
at us
think
if you
about
have ideas.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, those are your two jobs as listeners. We'll have a poll up by the time this episode lands with the 4 candidates for the next season. I want you to vote, and I want you to tweet at us a name that Ben can attach to his vest,
Anyway, Ben's here.
Ben is here.
Yes. Excited to talk about this film.
You were trying to do this vest thing, and I was just like, let's
You
just
move it along. I was trying to do like he was a TGI Fridays waiter, and he had a vest with a lot of flair on it. Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Ben has shaved his head pretty much since we last saw him.
Yeah.
That's true.
He's a new man.
He's a newly shorn Ben.
I'm also alive still.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my
Yeah,
God.
that's good.
That was a
That's good.
cliffhanger, because that episode was recorded so many weeks ago. Some of our listeners might have thought that you were
Not
dead.
gonna make it.
Yeah,
No,
dead
I'm
by
still
now.
here.
Yeah. Are you feeling okay?
Yes. No, I'm a lot better. But listening back to those episodes, like I sounded like, I think David pointed out, I sounded like Darth Vader, just like wheezing in the background.
Yes, you did, and we love you all the more for it. The film today is Jupiter Ascending. It's a film that I would also describe as silly, but I would use that as a very affectionate term.
Me too. I mean, I feel very affectionately towards this movie.
Yeah.
I will say it might be my least favorite Wachowski movie.
Oh, not mine.
But you probably you're getting the Matrix prequels in there. Sequels. Right?
Yeah, I guess it's...
We're going to rank
We'll rank them
the
at the end of the
movies
episode.
But I like all the Wachowski's movies, and I like this movie a lot.
I love this movie.
Rewatching it clarified some of its flaws for me, but also clarified the things I love about it.
See, I'll say the opposite thing. I was like, you watched it, critics shit on this movie really hard, right?
When it came out, they did. But
They
even when that was happening, there was already a little
couple
movement
defenders.
building of like,
Yeah.
hey guys, like Jesus, they tried to make a fucking original movie. Like,
Yeah. I also assumed there'd be more of a second wind, sort of groundswell by now, but it's kind of quiet.
Yeah.
People have sort of just forgotten about it.
Yeah. I mean, it has its fervent fans, but
Yes.
I don't know if this is ever going to be like the genuine kind of cult movie where like I have to read fucking articles every 6 months of like Jupiter Ascending sequel possible.
Yeah, or even like a Speed Racer thing where you're constantly making articles to like argue why it was misunderstood at the time, you know? Which I think it was. I think it deserves those types of articles at some point in the future.
Me too.
But they made a horrible mistake with this film, which was they premiered it at Sundance.
Yeah, in a secret screening.
Right.
I remember that.
So
And
they were like, there's
all
a big
the
studio
Sundance
movie.
crowd, having just been watching movies like The Witch and
Yeah.
like Me and Earl and the Dying Girl, and then they come out and they're like, yeah, it's fucking stupid. Like, was the large, like, it wasn't like a lot of nuance.
Right, and so immediately there are a bunch of tweets from everyone making fun of this movie,
And I
which
think people were hyped for this movie.
kind
No,
of...
they were.
Critics
People-
were.
Yeah, I don't mean the public.
Right, yeah.
Obviously, they were
Critics
hyped for
were.
this movie.
The public was not.
Critics
Yeah.
were like, all in on Channing Tatum. He
Yes.
was like really, and he's obviously they're still all in on
But
him.
at that
he
moment,
was really
he was
hot.
on a real roll. Yeah.
They
dinner
were
roll, if
all
you will.
in.
Or comedy points.
Mm.
Or comedy points.
They were all in on franchise fatigue,
Yes.
sequel fatigue.
Give us something
and it's
new.
like, hey, here's a whole like movie that has nothing to do with anything.
Based off nothing.
The only thing it's based off is that there's a planet called Jupiter.
Yeah.
In the sky.
Yeah.
And I think people like Mila Kunis.
There
I
is
don't
that
think-
weird credit at the end of the film where it says, based on the planet Jupiter by God. David doesn't like it.
Nope.
Mila Kunis.
People liked her. I
People
don't know
liked
if,
her. Yeah.
there was certainly no hostility towards Mila.
No, I think after Black Swan, people were really excited, and in between Black Swan and this film, she had done a couple, sort of like the Oz picture.
Yeah, made a lot of money.
But
She's
already,
really horrible in it. though.
yes,
Oh,
yes, and I
boy,
would
oh,
argue
boy.
it's
I like Mila, but
not her fault necessarily.
I mean, I don't know.
But it's not a good performance.
But also, I think even though Speed Racer and Cloud Atlas had not hit,
Yes,
there was a lot of love for those movies kind of floating around in the ether, and people were kind of ready for like, hey, let's the Wachowskis are going to be back. It's going to be fun.
And this on its face seemed like a more conventional, accessible film.
It is a more conventional,
It is.
accessible film.
Right.
That doesn't mean it's conventional and accessible.
No, I don't think they're
It's
capable.
also
Yeah.
It's PG-13. It's like it's the only PG-13 movie they've ever made because Speed Racer's PG,
Right.
and it's I think that's a huge problem, to be honest. But anyway,
That the film's PG-13?
Yeah. I don't think they work well on that.
Now, could I
in
say,
that world.
I've never seen this film before.
Uh-huh.
So going into it, I had read some like brief synopsis, and they're referring to it as a space opera.
Yeah, it's definitely a space opera.
Okay, so maybe I'm just unfamiliar. I was assuming that there was going to be a whole bunch of singing. That's what I thought was going to happen with this movie.
Ladies and gentlemen, the podcast is over. It's over. We will never record again. We're not going to do better than that.
He's our finest film critic.
He's our finest film critic, Ben Hosley.
You're welcome.
The best thing is, all right. You know that's true.
I know
It's
that's
100% sincere.
That's not a joke.
Griffin is red with laughter.
I read like Ben.
So I was actually disappointed because I was like kind of excited for that.
You just wanted them to like burst into song.
Totally.
Look,
here's the
that
thing.
would have been good.
Yeah, it would have been really cool.
Here's the thing the listeners need to understand about Ben, right? Because they only get to experience
because, like,
him in this context.
Me and Griffin came up with the idea for this podcast. Ben is along for the ride.
Right.
Ben is like, it's like if we were in some kind of space adventure. He's like the guy who was sort of on board fixing something, and then we had to like blast into deep space, and now he just is sort of like with us. But
Yeah,
sometimes we say shit, and he is so confused by us.
Ben is like C-3PO, you know? Like Ben wasn't
Kinda.
like meant for this. Or like Sam Rockwell in Galaxy Quest, maybe. No, but here's the thing you have to understand about Ben, okay? Because some people might be like, is Ben real? Is he like a character? How much of this is a bit?
Right. No, it's real.
Here's the thing. Ben's a comedian. Ben knows that he's funny.
Yeah.
You know? But also, Ben has never said anything on the show that isn't 100%
No, it's
genuine.
real. He's real.
Yeah.
Like, you're excited that you're going to get a laugh off of your real opinions, but they are your real opinions.
Pretty much. Yep.
All right. Okay,
Okay, so this film has no songs in it,
sadly. No, space opera, just grand melodramatic
Yeah.
space adventures from this I don't know, the 50s. Like I feel like is when it sort of came around.
I would argue
probably even earlier.
perhaps even earlier.
Yeah,
but
like the Flash Gordon type movies or the serials of the 30s, that kind of stuff.
I saw this film IMAX opening weekend.
I saw it at a press screening. This is the first film where I had my job as a film critic.
That's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
This is your first one.
Yeah, I took my roommate Molly, and we had a fucking great time.
Yeah.
And because I saw it at a critic screening, it's always a different crowd. It's a different vibe. And so lines like "I've always loved dogs" got like a huge laugh. And it's not like a genuine laugh. It's a knowing laugh. Not like a completely sarcastic laugh.
Yeah.
But definitely there was like a slight air of derision in the crowd. But I think that I remember it going generally fine.
With the laughs like this?
No. There was the bees and the dog. Those got like big laughs. Not like when I saw Mother's Day.
Yeah.
And at one point, literally after a sincere line was delivered, one person just screamed, "Jesus Christ!" which was a great moment, and then we all laughed.
I've told you the best thing I ever heard someone yell out at a movie, right?
What?
Couples Retreat.
Okay.
The Vince Vaughn, Favreau,
I know the film.
Bateman, Faison Love picture.
That was a Faison Love joint.
Yeah. So the opening setup of the film is
Talk about a film that literally doesn't exist.
And made
it's like it made
$200 million
domestic.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
anyway,
and another 100 at least overseas. Yeah. Huge movie, doesn't exist. I can
not exist.
I can vouch
like
for the fact it doesn't
all those
exist.
Vince Vaughn movies, like Four Christmases,
Doesn't exist.
Just like they came out, made a ton of money, no one would ever acknowledge that they saw them.
You know what's a fun fact about The Dilemma?
Didn't even make money, that one.
Didn't exist. Wasn't made.
Yeah.
Delivery Man doesn't exist.
Delivery Man
doesn't exist.
Shoot. So what happened at Couples Retreat or Perfect Couples?
So the scene that sets up the movie is Bateman and Kristen Bell are like, we bought this package. You know, one of those normal 4 couples packages where if one couple doesn't show up, the whole package.
I get a pop-up ad for one of those every day.
Yeah, it goes out the window and we don't offer refunds, right?
Okay.
The setup for the film. And they're like, we can't do this. We're not doing this. And he goes like, look, I'm going to level with you guys. Our marriage is in a pretty rocky place. And this trip is sort of our last chance. Because if this doesn't work out, we're thinking of getting a divorce. And some guy in the back of the theater just goes, gay. So here's my question, right?
Is it gay to get divorced?
Yes.
Or is he saying like the problem at the heart of their marriage is that Jason Bateman is
that's
a
the question,
and he's
did
just
this
not
guy
dealing
think
with that?
He had cracked the plot, like he had predicted.
Is that what the movie's about?
No.
Okay.
Or
does their marriage get saved?
Yes.
Who are the other couples in that movie? Vince Vaughn and Malin Ackerman? Correct.
And the other one is Jon Favreau and Kristen Davis.
Oh, yeah. What a natural couple those two. Is Jon Favreau like in like beached whale level?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the idea in that
He's
movie,
an overweight man.
They hate each other in that film, and they keep on fucking other people, but they're fine with it.
Oh yeah.
And at the end, the fact that they hate each other like turns them onto each other, and they have like they hate.
And then Faison Love and
Callie Thorne, is that her? Callie Hawk.
Kelly Thorne is like kind of like an Italian actress who's on Rescue Me for years.
No, Callie Hawk, who was on New Girl for a little while. She's like a comedic actress.
Sure.
That was her first movie. She didn't blow up. I actually think she's very talented.
Did Tarkovsky direct that one, or was it?
You know who directed that one? Peter Billingsley of A Christmas Story. Ralphie from A Christmas Story.
Crazy.
Anyway.
So
Also co-starring Peter Serafinowicz.
Right.
My big blue buddy, and it's Moore Morrison, Django Fett.
Django Fett himself.
So it all
they play
ties in together.
Retreat. They play holiday specialists of some sort or another.
Yeah, I'd argue the best joke in the entire film is that Serafinowicz introduces himself as Stanley spelt with a C. And you spend the entire movie trying to figure out where the C is. And at one point they see it written down, and it's SCTANLEY.
Jupiter Ascending.
Jupiter Ascending is a movie I have a big crush on.
Yeah, me too.
That's my feeling.
Especially like the opening, which is gorgeous. Gorgeous opening. Just the shot of Jupiter.
Yeah.
Fucking taking up the whole screen. I'm going to do the whole review in this.
I saw this movie in IMAX. Like, it looked so beautiful.
In 2D or 3D?
It's so pretty. 3D. Yeah. Which I was happy to watch it in 2D now. Oh, yeah, since I'm going to say, the Sundance reviews were terrible, right? Like just the immediate tweets.
And like the movie came out like a week and a half later. It was like pretty rapid. Yeah.
And the official reviews that came out in between the Sundance reviews and like the release of the film were even worse.
Yeah.
At that point, the narrative
was
out.
a pylon.
It was a pylon. It was like, what the fuck are they even trying to do?
It wasn't a Cylon from Battlestar Galactica. It was a pylon.
No.
Yeah.
Great. 4 comedy points. I
Thank
don't know.
you.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted. I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
So I went into it bracing myself because I wanted to like it. I really did. Right.
Yeah. Me too.
First off,
I remember I was really stubborn. Like the reviews came out, and I was like, "Fuck them!" Like because I really had liked Speed Racer, and I I was already in my fervent defense of the Matrix sequels mode. Yeah. So I was like, "No, it'll be great."
I'm not listening to you dummies.
Yeah.
But I also secretly was like, oh, fuck, this really doesn't sound encouraging.
I also wanted it to make a ton of money.
Me
and
too.
Already kind of could tell it wasn't going to, so I was a little sad about
the
that.
die had been cast because it was supposed to come out the summer earlier. They pushed it back to February.
They pushed it back for VFX work, which I think is accurate. I'm pretty sure that's why they did it.
But I also think when the movie was 2 months out from being released as like a July thing,
so that was the other thing.
There was no excitement.
I forgot about that. It really fucked the movie because it had been advertised
they had
for a
big
while.
Posters up, trailers, TV ad, like,
and then it just never came out.
Yeah.
And then finally, of course, it gets dumped like 2 weeks before the Oscars. I mean, a month before the Oscars.
Yeah.
Not even really, like a few weeks before the Oscars.
I think it came out the week before because I remember Redmayne won the week after.
Right. People were worried this would be his Norbit, but it was too late. Redmayne was like, "Fuck you."
Whereas I view it as the opposite. I saw the movie and I went, "Fine, you can give him the Oscar." After seeing this performance, I was like, "Fine, the guy's earned it."
Yeah, he didn't earn it.
I think he did.
Yeah. I mean, I like him in this movie. I just don't like him that much in the. Stephen Hawking
agreed.
movie.
I think he's good.
He's okay.
In the early sections.
Yeah, he's all right
as a student.
Yeah. Douglas Booth could have done it.
Agreed. Another cast member from Jupiter Ascending.
That was my joke.
So yeah, I said right. Yeah, I know. I was just putting a point on it. I said earlier I love this movie, but like when I say like I love it, it's great. It makes it sound like it's like perfect or that it's transcendent or that it's a miraculous piece of art, which it isn't.
That it's ascendant.
But it is that it ascends. Mm-hmm. But I do like I watch this movie and I like have a crush on it. Like I want to kiss this movie. I kind of want to fuck this movie. You know, I don't know if I want to marry it. All right. But I'm watching it and I'm just like,
it's
I
gorgeous.
think this movie's lovely. Like I think this movie's so charming and so pretty.
Yes, I agree with everything you're saying. Yeah. I think I just want it to be better than it is. But I think it's good.
Well, I went into it the second viewing, and I was like, okay, your guard's been down. You already liked it more than everyone else did. You're not trying to prove a point anymore. Now we're in the context of all their films. You're going to judge it a little more harshly, like pick it apart. Like I was ready to like it significantly less.
Yeah.
And I didn't.
That's good.
I finished watching the film and I was like, would watch again. Like I almost just want to restart it just because I like living in the world of this movie.
Well, that's the thing. I like the world of the movie. I mostly like the look of the movie.
Yeah.
I love the cast of the movie. And I love the idea of like intergalactic aristocratic politics. Like being part of a big action movie.
And I'll say that stuff worked better for me on the second viewing than the first one.
Here's what doesn't work in this movie.
Okay.
The action.
Disagree.
Yeah. The action is the big problem in this movie. Number 2, and it like hurts me to say it. It like makes my skin feel like it's on fire. But like Channing Tatum.
Soft disagree.
I mean, like, and I don't think he's terrible or anything, but I think he's not meeting this material where he needs to meet it. I think the same is true of Mila Kunis, but I also think the script underserves her a little bit.
Yeah, I think neither of them are great. I think both of them work, but I understand why people don't like those performances. Let us
let's take this away.
Go through the plot. But I'll say this: talking about wanting to live in the world of the movie, Avatar, which both of us like.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Were we to do Cameron as our next miniseries, should the people vote so?
Big Jim.
If we go down Big Dick Jim's road, we're both ready to defend Avatar, which now has people have turned their backs on.
Has its own reputation, yeah.
Right, but there was the sort of story that was getting circulated after the film that like all these people were depressed, these like sad, lonely people because they saw Avatar and they wanted to live in Pandora so much that they got depressed living in the real world. They started these online communities, and that was part of the thing that boosted the box office. Was people would see it like 10 times.
I once was directed to a Reddit thread of people explaining how you could enter a lucid dreaming state so that you could then control your dreams and enter Pandora.
Right.
Yeah.
Shit like that was happening.
This is true. Now, maybe that person was just making it up. I don't know. It was a funny internet thing. But
I don't know.
But there was shit like that happening.
My point is,
People began to be sad that the world of Avatar was fictional.
That they didn't live in
essentially.
Pandora.
There was a small community of people who were just sad about that.
and that was like the big gamut when Disney announced their Avatar theme park was they were like, people will pay to live in that thing for fucking 4 hours at a time, you know?
Yeah.
Which still hasn't opened.
Yeah.
Much like the sequels still have not been made. But watching that film, I like Avatar a lot. I'll defend to the end of the day. I don't have that impulse at all. I watch it and I'm just like, okay. Like, I don't want to live in that world. I don't think it's particularly beautiful.
No, I think it's fine. It seems like a fairly dangerous world. There's a lot of like rhinos in it and stuff.
Yeah,
so
but
like I'm cool just watching it.
I do want to live in Jupiter Ascending. Like, I watch this movie and I want to live in like these.
That's not how I feel. I just like the idea of creating. Look,
Let's go through the plot.
yeah, but just to say, like we always talk about how the Wachowskis do something that's like really unfashionable or kind of ahead of its time, and I think the thing they did here that was unfashionable was creating a world whole cloth, like a really complicated world that they have to explain to you.
Yeah.
A lot. There's a lot of explanation in the movie.
Yeah.
And like original sci-fi worlds were just not the thing at the time. This feels like a movie right out of the 80s.
It's also correct. It's also
Down to its villains.
when you get into the space opera thing, I think that's even a bit of a misnomer, not just because of how it confused Ben, but because I think this really is like a children's fantasy story in sci-fi clothing.
Yeah.
You know, I read the nexus, the sort of like kernel that this film started from was they were
Wizard of Oz.
reading a lot of fantasy. They were reading Wizard of Oz. They were reading Alice in Wonderland. They were reading all of those. And they went, these types of protagonists we find very interesting. These young women who are thrown into these crazy worlds, and they keep this head on their shoulder.
Yeah.
You know, and they're sort of succeeding and making their way through the land through judgment and morality.
But
right?
that's where I'd say the film falls down. But yes.
I'd agree, but you also look at those films, and Alice and Dorothy are both pretty passive characters.
Yeah,
Things
that's the
happen
problem.
to them,
Right.
and it's about how they react to them. But it's not that much about them taking decisive action, right? It's about who they remain in these worlds.
That's fair. Sure. Like she has a moral compass that essentially like holds true.
Yeah,
Although a couple times she almost fucking signs away the rights of all humans.
but she
to,
doesn't. I think that's what defines her as a character. Is that
but she doesn't because Channing Tatum fucking crashes through a window on his roller skates.
What? But the second time she fucking makes a choice herself.
Kind of.
I'd say she does.
I was watching out for this really working, like,
Yeah.
on that, and she doesn't quite. He interrupts again, but she makes more of a decision herself. But also by that time, and I'll complain about this. The whole thing is so fucking confusing. Why doesn't Eddie Redmayne just kill her? I don't get it. He wants to kill her at the beginning of the movie. Why doesn't he kill her at the end?
Doesn't she say that he can't, though?
She says that he can't, but the movie doesn't do enough work explaining why that has changed. This is where I start to get annoyed at the movie, but whatever.
I guess. Anyway, I mean, the idea was they want to try to make Alice in Wonderland as a sci-fi film. They want to put that sort of protagonist into a sci-fi trapping, and I think that confused people. Let's go to the beginning.
I think Wizard of Oz is the better choice because, as they say, she's Dorothy.
And he's Toto.
And he's Toto, which I think is such a funny idea.
Amazing.
Anyway, so the movie is about a girl
Named Jupiter Jones.
Jupiter Jones, who is a Russian immigrant.
Mm-hmm.
Her father, played by James Darcy,
Our old buddy from Cloud Atlas.
from Cloudy Atlas, was an astronomer and a seemingly nice boy.
He had a beautiful golden
telescope.
A telescope of gold.
Who wooed a nice lady, a nice Russian lady, played by Maria Doyle Kennedy.
Mm-hmm.
As with his, sort of winsome charm and interest in the space, I guess.
That Darcy twinkle, you know?
And then he gets killed in a very tragic and somewhat abrupt opening scene where some Russian gangsters, I guess, are trying to, like, steal his clocks. I don't know, steal his telescope.
Random break-in, bunch of masked thugs. His telescope was made of pure gold.
So
They want to steal it.
I don't think it's made of pure gold. Good Lord.
I think every inner working, every rivet is gold.
Anyway, so then
Even the instructions
then
were
the
printed
mom-
on pure gold.
The mom is sad, flees to America, gives birth to Jupiter on like a barge.
Yeah.
And they now live in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And they clean toilets. They have a toilet business. I mean, they have a cleaning business.
And sort of like a family flop house. Yeah.
Yeah.
They live in
Yeah.
a family flop house. They're not
She's
cleaning
got
toilets.
a bunch of like cousins and siblings and shit, including Sparky from Speed Racer.
Our friend Kit Gurry.
And I forget who else is in there.
In the family, I didn't recognize any of the other ones.
You know, there's like apparently Aunt Nino is played by someone called Frog Stone.
Well, but of course. She's got a large family. They all live in one house. They're all sort of cartoonish.
They're all kind of, and like the Kit Curry, what's his name? Vladdy.
Yeah.
Is trying to get her to sell her eggs so he can buy a TV. Like, it's really sad.
The men all seem like sort of backwards hustlers, right?
Yeah.
The men are all sort of gruff.
Not
they
the
don't
greatest,
trust women. Yeah.
I mean, I assume the
They don't
Wachowskis are maybe Polish or Russian. I mean, Eastern
believe they're
European
Polish.
with a name like that.
I believe they're Polish.
So I assume like maybe they have a little bit of their own, family, or at least stories of the family in this very cartoonish presentation of like an immigrant family. Maybe
maybe they're just trying to stick it to the Ruskies.
I don't know. But
You know?
anyway, it's a little.
What if the Wachowskis are still like Cold War truthers? They're like, I don't know, we shouldn't let our guard down.
Great.
They might.
But you know, interestingly enough, it is Mila Kunis, I believe, is from the Soviet Union. She is a Russian.
I believe she's Ukrainian. Yes.
Yeah, maybe she's right. But, you know, she is of Eastern European extraction and
speaks fluent Russian.
And so it's kind of fun that I think she's also Jewish, but just
she is.
But
She's a nice mix of stuff.
Fun to give her this role. Like, it's actually appropriate to her background.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. All of this is done in voiceover narration, which is pretty quickly dropped after that.
Where she's like, you wouldn't expect me to be cleaning a toilet, or I can't even remember. Like, look at me cleaning a toilet. There I am, Jupiter Jones.
But this is the thing I like about this movie.
I have no problem with this.
Right, and I can't argue that this film is perfect, but like the vibe of this movie wins me over so thoroughly that I'm willing to overlook its flaws because I have such a good time watching it. This movie feels like an adaptation of a book that never existed. You know? There's this energy to it, even to the narration where it feels like it doesn't feel as much like a, you know, people always talk about how narration's sort of like voiceover is like a sloppy screen writing device. If you can't get the thing out visually or through dialogue, then, you know, you're not doing your job.
Whatever, fuck that.
Whatever, who cares? Sometimes it's a stylistic choice. Sometimes you're trying to get a vibe out there.
Well, sometimes it's a very like, ooh, story time, yeah.
And that feels to me like the voiceover narration at the beginning feels like the first chapter of a book. And it's setting up this sort of like Cinderella complex of like she's the one that no one notices. She's under the stairs. She's scrubbing the toilet, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's a classic story because someone's about to drop out of the sky and say like, you don't know it, but you're a really special person and you're magical and like we're going to go on a crazy adventure.
And all those fairy tales that we're talking about, all the girls in them are like 14 years old. That's that weird thing we never think about is they're all supposed to be like very, very young.
Right.
I think because most of those writers were pedophiles.
No, I think it's just also because these stories are from a time when you were going to be dead when you were 35.
Right,
like,
they were middle-aged.
You gotta get going.
Yeah,
like,
13-year-olds were middle-aged, They were buying the Ferrari. They had the 401k in place. But Mila Kunis is, as an actress, she's very tiny. She's got these sort of big, giant baby eyes.
Yeah, she's
got a very high-pitched voice. Like, there's something very childlike to her.
Sure.
Innately, and sort of an energy that makes you sort of worried about her.
I get you.
In any given scene, she's very sympathetic.
Well, also, you're like, what? She's got to sell her eggs for a TV?
Yeah, you feel bad.
But there's a
You're
metaphor
like,
there, I assume, for the larger story that unfolds, where we are all being harvested for, you know.
I believe so.
Consumerism.
But there's a feeling in this opening section that's very cartoonish, it's very over the top, is like they're the wicked stepsisters. This is like the family. This is the heightened sort of like the humble beginnings.
Here's what happens while this is all playing out. Cut to fucking, I don't know, a planet that has been erased of life in an alien galaxy.
Cut to my wildest dreams.
A character called Kalik, played by Tuppence Middleton, who is her name is more absurd than her character's name.
Yeah, they should have flipped those two. It should have been Tuppence Middleton, played by Kalik.
And a guy called Titus, who's played by Douglas Booth. Who's a young English actor who's kind of just pretty.
He's a dreamboat, yeah.
And Kalik is kind of looks old. Right?
Yeah, she's pretty run down.
Yeah.
She looks like a young person, old person makeup.
She does, yes.
You can tell it's a young actress.
Yes, you can.
But
they try, but
she's wrinkly.
And a simpering. How do you describe Eddie Redmayne's performance as Balem?
I would describe it as the best of 2015.
It's crazy. It's so crazy.
He was honestly right outside my best supporting actor list.
Doing this thing where he's whispering every single word.
And also, all of his dialogue is done in close-ups, and he's always like tearing up but not actually crying.
His eyes, I swear to God, it's like they're shooting hoses right at them before, like, and then they like take the hoses out and they're like, roll camera, like, you know, like that quickly.
Do you want my honest theory?
Yeah.
That right up until they called action, they had someone holding one of the big lights.
Mm-hmm. Right, like
a
melting
key light,
his face,
like right in front of his eyes. Yeah.
He looks crazy.
Yeah.
It's a great. I think it's a straight up great performance. He won the
too.
Golden Raspberry for Worst Supporting Actor,
Which is bullshit.
yeah, but you know that's how these things go.
Yeah.
And because he kind of has the same diction and speech style as my high school physics teacher, Mr. Jones, which is basically like quiet, quiet, quiet. You know, like you know, and you're like where you have to kind of hang on his words because he's really quiet, and then out of nowhere he'll just be like, I said no! Like, he'll just shout, and you're just like, whoa, okay. You know, like, just to jolt you back up in your seat.
Yeah. Here's what I don't get about the reaction to this performance, okay? If you just
I created life!
If you don't like this movie, if you're not buying it in, you're going to find the whole thing, like, just too fucking goofy to tolerate, right? And I could see
in the middle, what I'm saying is in the middle of all the Mila Kunis origin stuff, they just sort of slip this scene in.
Very quick.
Yeah.
They ask
where
you
they're talking about like House Abraxas and like, well, I own the deed to Earth. And you're like, who are these people? What are they talking about?
Yeah, it's three siblings who look nothing alike, of very different ages, who behave totally differently, all on an abandoned planet, like city with like like space cars.
But they're talking like they're from Downton Abbey.
Right.
And it's lunacy.
And they're like talking about like property
It's
tax.
also the same move they pulled with The Matrix, where it's just like The Matrix begins with all this gobbledygook.
And then gets you to
and then it
Neo.
catches you up. But like
this flips it. They give you like 10 minutes of Jupiter doing stuff, and then they give you the scene that's
it's
just
the
like
same
crazy
basic
banana balls.
idea where they're like, don't worry about it. We're just laying the groundwork.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
But here's my question for people who don't like Eddie Redmayne's performance in this movie. What do you think he should have done?
I agree.
Like, he's totally in sync with what the film is doing. He's the perfect villain for the tone,
I agree.
the sort of visuals of this film.
Here's my complaint.
Yeah.
Everyone else needs to be at that level.
I agree 100%. I think he's the most calibrated actor in the entire film.
I think that's why he gets shit for the performance, because everyone else is basically giving a 2014, 2015 performance.
Yeah.
And he's giving a great, like, old-fashioned, big villain performance from, like, a movie from the 50s.
Yeah.
Or even the 80s. This movie really feels like, to me, like a sort of Dark Crystal type, like, wacky, like, Muppety movie.
To me, it feels like that combined with, like, 40s adventure serials.
Sure.
That sort of propulsive plotting combined with the sort of old British fairy tales and the, you know, and the Frank Baum books and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I think those are sort of the three major ingredients. But yeah, they talk about this deed tax. Eddie Redmayne immediately gets an Oscar from me. And then we cut back to Jupiter. Jup. But our family calls her Jupiter because they're Russian. It's a soft J.
Yep.
And
yeah, and basically to just move things along, she has an appointment with the doctor. There's some like, you know, flim-flam where she has like a rich client whose name she borrows, but like it's absolutely
but that seems important because she sees the aliens. She's with a rich client. She's watching her get dressed. She's talking at the party she has to go to.
Just to lay it out,
yeah,
Jupiter's using this rich client's name at the doctor's office for whatever reason to sell her eggs. Her genetic imprint like tripped some galactic, you know, space algorithm.
Yeah.
And so a bunch of little green men,
they've been looking for her,
have gone, and so they go to the other girl, you know, to the girl whose name she borrowed, who's played by fucking Vanessa Kirby, I think.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. And they like mess with her, and so we see some little green men.
They look really good. I think
they
they're
look pretty
really
good.
well animated.
Well, I mean, I think what the Wachowskis are trying to do here, which they also messed with The Matrix, they did this with The Matrix some, which is like they're trying to just to make this whole cloth sci-fi story that explains things in our world. So it's like, oh, people have been seeing like little green men. That's these weird little guys who come and like mess with reality when they need to kill someone or kidnap someone.
Yeah, they're like they can go invisible, they can wipe memories.
And they mostly erase people's memories, but there's a few spares, but who cares because they just seem like crazy people.
Yeah.
Yeah, stuff like that. And like, oh, you think we're all like created like ancient alien style? Yeah, we are.
Right.
Like, you know, like a lot of stuff where it's just like trying to explain myths that already exist.
But Jupiter's like in the bathroom when they come and start fucking with this girl, and then she walks back out and she sees the woman levitating.
Yeah, and she like takes a picture.
She takes a
on her
picture
telephone.
and they wipe her memory.
Yeah.
A couple days later, next day, whatever, she goes
To donate her eggs.
Right.
To have her eggs harvested.
yes, and under this fake name, Catherine Dunleavy. And they're like, oh, Miss Dunleavy. And then when she gets under and she's on the table, they start saying creepy stuff.
Yeah, I like this scene. It's cool because like they throw in some little flashes of the people's faces changing into like the gray alien type face.
They're like gray almond-eyed aliens with
it's
skinny
like just
limbs.
your classic alien, big-headed alien.
Yeah.
And it all seems like it's about to go. They're gonna fucking kill her or something. This is one problem I have with the plot of the movie is it seems like they're just there to kill her.
Yes.
They're like just making sure she is who she is, genetically testing her, and they're like, "Yep, it's her." Ding, and they're about to kill her, and then Dog Man bursts into the room with a laser shield strapped to one arm and a gun, and he kills them all, and he rescues her, and he has roller skates that make him fly.
And his name is?
His name is
Kane
Kane
Wise.
Wise. And he's played
Hell
by
yeah,
Channing
it is.
Tatum.
Hell yeah, he is. Kane.
What do you think about this, Ben?
About this scene or about the character?
The character of Kane Wise.
I mean,
A lycantant or something.
well, Channing Tatum is like a good-looking man.
Agreed.
And they made him just look like this weird dog boy.
Agreed.
And I feel like you could have just told me, okay, he's half man, half wolf, and then not added the pointy ears and the weird face, and I'd be like on board still.
Not only that, but he is wearing a crazy jaw-changing thing to like make his jaw look different, which apparently meant that he couldn't even close his mouth and could barely speak his lines.
Ugh.
Like I think it really hurt his performance.
Also, did they add freckles to his body?
No, I think those are there. I
He's
think
just
that's
a
his
freckle face?
sun-soaked body. Yeah.
He just needed some makeup
in the shirtless
on that.
scenes, he's got a ton of shoulder freckles.
Yeah.
I think he was a Miami Beach boy or something.
Sure.
It spans time. I see. I love that, and I don't know if it's just me being perverse, but like I love the fact that they got this guy who's like America's favorite hunk. At that moment, he was unquestionably the hunk du jour, right? At the moment they cast him in this film, he was coming off his crazy. What was it? 2013 was the triple header of Magic Mike,
21
The
Jump.
Vow, or he had 4 films. It was Magic Mike, The Vow, 21 Jump Street, and G.I. Joe Retaliation, which he's barely in. But they sold hard on his back.
Well, they just cranked him into that because he was hot.
Right.
No, 21 Jump is 2012. 2013, he was in Side Effects, G.I. Joe. He's in This Is the End for a second.
Yeah.
White House Down, great movie, not a big hit.
Yeah.
Don John, that's his 2013.
So 2012 was the year
2012
I was
has
thinking
The Vow, that has Haywire, and it has Magic Mike.
about. Right, in 21 Jump Street.
This was his he was coming off of the 2014 year of Foxcatcher 22 Jump Book of Life.
Yeah, but remember the film was supposed to come out before that.
Wait, Foxcatcher came out. I can't remember.
Foxcatcher
it
came
did
out,
come out
end
in
of 2014. But my point is, Jupe was supposed to come out summer of 2014, which means, it was shooting in 2013.
He was hot shit.
He was hot shit. He was
And
at
you're
the top of
saying
the
you like that they make him look like a fucking weirdo.
Yeah, but
I think I agree with you.
But he's still supposed to be like it's not
Handsome.
like
He's
making
supposed to be
Steve Carell in Foxcatcher look like a creepo. Like they're like, we're hiring the sex symbol. He's still supposed to be the sex symbol of the movie, and we're gonna make him look weird.
I basically agree with you. My problem with him comes a little later.
What
And
you
no
said,
collar?
Finger. You should put in the fingered riff. I love that fingered
the
riff.
fingered
by
riff
the
was
way.
so good.
Okay.
Ben,
Oh,
that was
yeah, I'll
great.
add it there.
Yeah. I do think what you said about the jaw thing make it difficult for him to say his lines makes a lot of sense with his performance because it's a very quiet performance.
It's a quiet performance. It should be really. Here's my problem with the performance.
It's kind of mumbled, yeah.
Is that later on in the film, not much later on,
Mhm.
because basically he collects Jupiter and they have this crazy chase scene through Chicago,
Which I love.
which I think is good. I mean, I wish I loved it. I like it. It's good.
Mhm.
You've also got like Duna Bay and a couple other people.
Our
these,
friend from
like,
Cloudy Atlas.
yeah, who are these people who are also like hunting her?
Yeah.
There's a lot of like business. There's these dragon people.
Oh my god. Oh my god, the dragon people.
They're great. Love them.
They're just some people are dragons.
I mean, Balem has some bodyguards and they're
Yeah.
dragons.
But also some of them just seem like
We
to
should-
be like some of them are just dragons.
This movie's hard to keep track of because it just starts cutting to, it's like, cut to Jupiter. In the giant red spot, Balem has a mining thing, and he's sitting in his office talking to a little man called Mr. Knight and 4 dragons.
Mr. Knight's like a mouse dude.
Yeah, Mr. Knight's like, oh, I'm sorry, sir. I do wish to attend.
Yeah.
You know, the matters of evil do require some paperwork.
He's
you know,
from like
that
a
type.
live action Wind in the Willows adaptation. And then,
Yeah, he's from like the BBC's Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe miniseries.
exactly.
He's played by Edward Hogg, is the name of the actor.
The great Edward Hogg.
And so, like, we've got that, and like, there's a scene where Balem's just like, I must have the girl now, or whatever. You're just
David's
just like
physical impression was so good right now. I just want the listener at home to know he's adding it to his Mad TV reel along with Agent Smith.
And so I feel like this is like with many a Wachowski movie.
Yeah.
This is where people are either like, oh, forget this. What the hell's going on? Or they're like, you know, there's the fraction that are like, oh, I like more of this, please. Like, cut to another thing. Is there Terry Gilliam perhaps in a clockwork like tax shop? We're going to get him?
Can I bring up my complaint with Terry Gilliam in this movie?
Sure.
So you have this film that's like so designy, right? So art directed. Everyone's got this crazy makeup and the hair. Like Duna Bay has what is clearly Lana Wachowski's hair.
Yeah, she's got this massive, but it's even bigger. This
But it's
massive
like
purple
pink
dreadlock
ponytails.
Sia-style wig.
Pigtails on either side.
Pigtails,
right. Yeah, it like looks like Lana's hair. But everyone's got all this sort of designy elements, right?
Yeah.
Even Jupiter, like...
Who is the guy who's the partner of her who's like black, and then he's like a black man who has been painted like jet black, and he has like
he's
a
like
black
onyx
arrow
colored,
on his head.
And then his facial hair is feathers. Like he's got a feather goatee.
I love that guy. He doesn't do anything,
Love
but
him.
he's good, great design.
He's great.
And I love how Duna Bay's like little speeder bike has another gun that's just floating next to it. It's not attached.
Yes, sir.
And I love that Channing Tatum's shield is not explained. He just sort of has like a force field like on one arm.
Yeah.
It kind of just shows up.
Yeah, I kind of think this movie could do with explaining less, because I think the things they
agree.
don't explain and just show you, you accept.
No, the biggest problem, and that's my complaint. Let me get to my complaint.
Yeah.
Unless you wanted to say something specific about Terry Gilliam.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, we could also wait until we get to the scene, but you have all these characters that are so designed, and then Terry Gilliam shows up, and it's like they didn't even put him through hair and makeup. He just showed up as is, and they put him in front of camera.
That's very funny.
Thank you.
Terry Gilliam looks like a maniac in this movie. And it's really, I mean, there's this scene, we'll get to it, that's very obviously, I think, an homage to Brazil.
100%.
And it's just like, anyway, we'll get to it.
Yeah.
But here's my problem, and it's about telling and not showing.
Okay.
Is Sailor Bob, what's his name? Kane Wise, whisks Jupiter away. He rescues her. There's a bunch of action scenes through in like the skies of Chicago. He's got this like force field skatey thing. He goes to his pal's house out in the boondocks. His pal's played by Sean Bean. He plays Stinger.
Yeah.
Stinger Apney.
Yeah.
Who is a bee man.
He likes those bees. Yeah.
He's a bee man.
Yeah.
He's a bee man.
In some way, some guys are butt man, you know?
No, he's a bee man. Some guys are wolf man. Anyway, he gives this speech to Jupiter while we're cross-cutting with like with Kane like getting his weapons out and cocking them all, where he's just like, he was the run to the litter. But, you know, some of them, they're you know, turn out to be, like, sold, and they're crappy, but, like...
Good being.
Or else you're, like, fearless, you know?
Yeah.
He's basically telling us, like, this guy's crazy.
Yeah,
this guy survived being the runt of some kind of, like, mutant wolfman litter.
Yeah.
He survived being sold into slavery, and now he's, like, this renegade, crazy bounty hunter.
He's a loose
who's
cannon.
A wolfman. He's a loose cannon.
wild card.
You don't get any of that from Tatum. You don't get any of it.
Yeah, I agree. You know,
and like I wish it was there.
Here's what he really could have used. He could have used some like Lethal Weapon, Mel Gibson kind of energy,
or a Greedo scene. Give him a Greedo scene early on where he shoots Greedo.
Yeah,
which is crucial for Han Solo.
Yeah,
where we're like, this guy's just bragging about his ship. Who is this guy? And then he like executes a green alien, and you're like, great, okay.
Yeah,
don't mess with this guy.
I just think you needed a guy. You know, Channing Tatum. I like a lot as an actor.
I enjoy Channing Tatum a lot, although I think he's better when he's being sincere.
I agree. That's what I was going to say.
Doesn't have a hard edge, you know?
Somewhat, you know, every movie star, not every actor, but every movie star, like capital M movie star, has some sort of inherent quality that makes them a star. There's a thing that they are able to project that you can't punch out of them that is what people respond to, right?
Sure.
And I read some critic once, it was kind of mean, but she said, or it wasn't even a critic, it was like an anonymous studio exec talking about when Channing Tatum was having this killer year. And it was like Hollywood Reporter, like, what makes Channing Tatum? Why are people connecting them so hard right now? And she said, there's this thing with him. He's very handsome, but there's something about him that looks a little slow.
Yeah, no, he looks like a doofus.
Right.
Yeah.
He looks a little doofus, but he's so sincere.
He's
and
got like sticky outy ears. He looks like he has like fetal alcohol.
And he's got
syndrome.
little eyes.
Yeah.
He's very handsome, but almost in spite of his
he's a
looks.
cutie pie. Yeah, totally. But I mean,
saying,
like when he's in Foxcatcher, he looks so simian. Like, it's not hard to just with a little makeup to kind of push him into looking like basically like almost proto-human.
Right.
Yeah.
And this executive, this anonymous executive said the thing about him is he looks a little slow and the audience roots for him because they're like, this guy's trying really hard. And I can tell how tough it is for him to do anything.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And all his best roles are that. It's like he's a really sincere guy who's trying to get people to take him seriously, to look at him in a different way, trying to get his wife to fall back in love with him.
No, I mean...
trying to pull off the undercover cop.
Or in Magic Mike, I feel like where he's like the guy who's like, oh, I'm going to have like a furniture business.
Right.
And like anyone else, you'd be like, oh, this guy's so washed up. But with Channing Tatum, you'd be like, oh, yeah, no, he'll pull it off.
Best scene in the movie is the one with Betsy Brandt when he goes to try to get the loan. And she's like really condescending to him and he's trying to get her to take him seriously.
Right.
And she just won't, you know?
Yeah.
That's the interesting dynamic with him. What this film needed was something like Tom Hardy, where you watch Tom Hardy and you're like, this guy's
a maniac.
He's a maniac.
Yeah.
Even when Tom Hardy's playing a nice guy.
No. Tom Hardy is a good call.
Would have killed
I mean, obviously, Tom Hardy, we're thinking of Mad Max when we say this, but like he's a good call.
Yes.
But I mean, I admire what they're trying to do. They've got a movie star they think on their hands, and they like want to make him this like lovable rogue. But he's
also, I mean, look, Channing Tatum is able to express a lot physically, right? He's a very physical actor. This is a man of very few words, and he does the action scenes beautifully. And one thing I really like about this film is you can tell there's very little, ironically, after they sort of were the ones who created this wave with The Matrix Reloaded, this sort of CGI ragdoll stunt body thing.
Yeah.
You know, you can tell that like all the scenes where Kane is like laser rollerblading around, that he's on wires, and either they were hanging him from a helicopter,
rig,
right?
I think, yeah.
Even when they were compositing, when it's him in front of a green screen, I mean, you could tell in certain shots he's literally on set being hung up, right?
Right.
But even the green screen sort of composite shots, you can tell he's actually doing the physical action. I noticed like 3 shots in the entire film where it looked like they were using a CGI double.
Right.
And like he was a really good casting choice in that sense. He was a bad casting choice in that you need someone with 5 to 10% simmering craziness under the surface.
Yeah. I think that's a problem.
You know, I think you needed either like one scene to show that in the script, and or just someone who perpetually has a little bit of that spice under their skin. You know?
Yep.
That being said, I think he's nice in this movie.
Yeah, I think he's fine.
He's a nice boy.
But his character basically boils down to he like bursts into the action like the Kool-Aid Man over and over and over again. It's like shit's about to go down. Uh-oh. And then he shows up and he's like, no, Jupiter! And grabs her and they like skate away. There's
a lot of rescuing in this film. This is a
rescuing
heavy film. He gives her the quick speech that's like, I know we're jumping back a little, but he gives her a quick speech where he tries to explain everything. Mm-hmm. I think this scene is actually kind of well done because...
When they're at like the top of the Sears Tower or whatever?
Yeah. I think this is kind of well written because he keeps on like saying these crazy terms and then realizing she has no idea what he's talking about. Right. And he'll say like, they're watchers. They're like people who come by to make sure everything's working.
Yeah.
You know, which is like, if you're gonna, because we've talked a lot about how these movies get bogged down when there's too much lingo. You need a whole sort of fucking dictionary to understand the vocabulary of these worlds, right?
Yeah.
This scene at least is him sort of going like, here's what they're called, but it doesn't really fucking matter.
Right. No, he does
Here's
a lot
what
of
you
that.
need to know. This guy's trying to get you. These guys work for him. Here's who you are, right? Yeah. And I think that scene sets it up pretty well. I think he's kind of, he doesn't seem crazy in that scene, but he seems really wounded and lonely. I think he gets that across very well in that scene. And then there's this, you know, there's a big chase.
Then he takes her to Sean Bean's house.
Right.
And the Wachowskis have devised a shorthand to lock Sean Bean's character in to, like, recognizing that this woman is royalty, even if she doesn't know it.
Because he hates Channing
Tatum. He doesn't
Tatum.
like Channing Tatum. I forget why.
When they first show up, they fucking punch a bunch.
Yeah, why don't they like each other?
Because Channing Tatum has an innate distrust of royalty, like an instinctual dog-like distrust of royalty, right?
Uh-huh.
And so he tore out fucking Eddie Redmayne's throat, which is why Eddie Redmayne sounds like that.
Right.
See, I've tracked almost all of this movie now.
No. Yeah, tell me. Yeah.
He clawed
This is all delivered in exposition, and it's
very quickly.
It's tough to.
They go through
retain.
it real fast.
Yeah.
He
clawed
doesn't
out
like
Eddie
royalty.
Redmayne.
He smelled that he was a rat, which he was correct about, right?
Sure.
He clawed Eddie Redmayne's throat. They were going to put him down. They were going to euthanize him like a dog. And Sean Bean, who was his leader and like his trainer, he was the leader of the squad, said, it's my fault. I trained him badly. I should take the hit.
Yeah.
And so rather than kill Channing Tatum, they clipped both of their wings.
Yeah, they both had wings.
And then like kicked him out of the sort of royal army.
So that's why they're mad at each other. Anyway.
So Channing Tatum's become this sort of rogue agent, and Sean Bean just moved to a house on the farm with a bunch of bees and his daughter.
And his daughter, yeah. And anyway, so they're having a little bit of a scrap, and he's like, you never should have come back here. And then, what happens? 100,000 bees gather around Mila Kunis, and she starts directing them with her hands up and down. And Sean Bean delivers the lines, bees, like have an innate, it's bees always recognize royalty?
Yes. Well, before he says anything, he takes a knee. And bows to her.
He says, Your Majesty.
And she says, what do you mean, Your Majesty? And he goes, the bees, they always recognize royalty. Because she said, what's going on?
So I feel like this is where, if you haven't dropped out before, you're just like, just fuck that, right? You know, like a lot of the audience laughed derisively.
Yeah,
I love it.
I do too.
I think it's
and I
great.
think that's people who are viewing this like it's a sci-fi movie, you know?
Yeah.
As opposed to like the Wizard of Oz, where if that happened to Wizard of Oz, you'd be like, yeah, that's fine. They're bees. They sense royalty.
Well, I mean, I think it's also like, it's such a cheap, cute idea where it's like, because there's a queen bee. Like, you know, like that basically is the idea. But I like it. I think it's funny.
Cute movie. It's trying to be cute. Yeah.
I like it.
I do too.
So anyway, Sean Bean's like,
this movie.
Cool, you're the princess or whatever, and nice to see you. You may not understand it, but basically your genes have just reoccurred. I think Tuppence Middleton explains that part.
Kind of Cloud Atlas-y. They say that like genetically, it's not just like your spirit repeats, but genetically your material when you die.
It's just like life happens so long that eventually there's just going to be an exact reoccurrence of the exact same genes is the idea every 100,000 years or whatever.
Right.
And so you're just the same person that this old person was.
Yeah.
Who was the mother of the 3 siblings we met.
Right. The
Abrasax family.
Sean Bean offers up a lot of exposition. There's a moment I love where he's like, let me explain to you how things work.
Oh, yeah,
and
he tries to get the
he
screen
takes like
working.
a future book out of his bookshelf, and it has like a little like VR sort of like 3D projection thing.
This is so good.
But it's
and
like
it shorts out. Yeah.
It's like he's trying to play an old-timey newsreel. It's like the scene in the mystery film where they show him like, But
also, or he's trying to do something that fucking so many movies do.
Yeah.
Like fucking the Star Wars movie even does it. You know, any just holograph pops up. The Avengers movies do it all the time. Where it's like, here's, Count Bulow over here, and here's, and like it just shorts out. And he's like, fucking budget cuts or whatever.
But the energy with which they set it up is like, can I show you something? And it's like the scene where the next shot is they turn the lights on in the projection room and they have something laced up and they show him a newsreel that explains the entire backstory of the bad guy or whatever, right? And with this, it's like he's got this wonky piece of technology that looks like something from the future, but in his time, it's like, this is fucking 80 years old. It barely works. He hits it on his knee. It short circuits. He says that, too. He says that, like, because Channing Tatum's got this cut on his stomach that she puts a maxi pad over, which I love. They're in the car, and
what are
he's
you
bleeding.
doing?
And she's like, lucky for you, this car's owned by a woman. And she finds a fucking maxi pad. Tapes it to his chest. Sean Bean's like, what's this? Channing Tatum's like, and then he gets some spray and the wound just heals up. And she's like, what's that? And it's like, you'd be surprised how much technology your people have created.
Right.
And she's like, why wouldn't we just, like, why wouldn't we have all this? Why wouldn't you tell everyone about what's going on in space? And he's like, they can't take it.
Okay. Back on track. All right. So Kane and Stinger and Jupe.
Yep.
Get ambushed at a cornfield, which was weird because Looper had just come out, and there was or like a year or two earlier, and there was also a big cornfield battle. A lot of cornfield battles.
Yeah.
And there's a big fight at a cornfield that, in my opinion, kind of sucks, lacks stakes.
Yeah,
they've got these weird weapons that don't make sense. Like, they don't even seem very lethal. Like, one of them just sort of knocks Jupiter down.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's this reveal where, like, Duna Bay turns on another of the bounty hunters, but you're just like, well, who is that? Like, it doesn't, you don't get the alliances at play.
Yeah, this is probably my least favorite sequence in the movie. Yeah.
But it ends with Jupiter getting captured and taken to Tuppence Middleton.
Yeah, they put her in like
planet Tuppence.
They put her in like a tractor beam sort of thing. Yeah, she's floating up. It looks
and he's
cool.
like, no!
Yeah. Okay, so Tuppence Middleton.
So Tuppence Middleton, a.k.a. More like Exposition Middleton.
Sure, yeah. She delivers a lot of exposition.
She's an old lady.
Yeah.
In old age, like we said, she's a young lady in old age makeup.
But she looks like, when we say old lady, she looks like she's maybe like 65.
Right. Yeah, she doesn't look that old.
You know?
There's a cute moment where she asks Jupiter how old she is, and she's like, I don't know, mid-40s, which is like obviously her being nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, carry on.
And Tuppence Middleton's like, I'm going into my 7th century.
Yeah, no, millennia. She's 7,000 years old.
Right, yes.
And she's like, basically explains like, so this whole genetic resequencing thing I explained to you, you're basically the reincarnation of my mommy, who here's a statue of her, looks like you, doesn't it?
Yeah. She was 23 millennia old.
Some bonkers shit like that. And it's like, anyway, I've got these two brothers, and one of them owns the deed to Earth, and like, it's a lot of crazy shit to tell you. Anyway, do you know how I stayed this old? I'm going to take a bath. Let me take my clothes off.
Yeah. She shows her right bottom. She steps into the bath. She gets out of the bath. Bottom's looking even riper. Because she just lost like fucking 30, 40 years, right?
Indeed she did.
Yeah. Although I gotta say, if I have one main complaint about the movie, her face looks a lot less wrinkly after she gets out of the bath, but her butt wasn't that wrinkly when she went into the bath.
They don't try too hard with the butt.
No. Which maybe some people should heed that warning, learn that lesson. Don't try too hard with the butt. Fuck me, negative 15 comedy points.
Yeah, it was terrible. She has this whole spiel about, like, we've all got our perfect genetic sequence, like, programmed, and, like, that's what I'm just rebooting back to. Basically.
Yeah, it's just getting back to basics.
Back to 23 years old, you know?
Right. Yeah. Mila Kunis asks, she's like, if you people live this long, how did your mother actually die? And she's like, she was killed.
She was murdered.
She was murdered.
And she was like, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. She's like, it's fine. She was fucking 23,000 years old. It's fine. She lived a good life. Don't worry about it.
So
I'm over it.
So
that happened 4 millennia ago.
So you get what is kind of annoying is like you get this exposition, right?
Yeah.
And then she goes off. She hooks up with like the what are they called? The Aegis, who are like the police, the galactic police.
Uh-huh.
And then they get like picked up by Titus, brother, Douglas Booth, sibling number 2.
Yeah.
And he's like, let me just complete the exposition. So, the blue pool that she
Where did she take you up to? How far did you get into this story? Okay, good. I can go from there.
The pool that makes you young, that's made of 100 people per canister, and it turns you young, but you have to harvest whole planets to create it. And that's what we do.
Right.
Oops, don't drop it, shit.
And she just realized, like, she's just wasted a bunch of lives.
Yeah, 100 lives.
Right. And he was like, they explain that humans are aliens.
So, it's like Tuppence explains, you're the reincarnation of my mother, and you're you're a really important part of this galactic family.
She leaves a clean edit point.
And then Titus, exactly.
Yeah.
And then Titus explains, and we create this substance by harvesting people who we plant on planets and grow to a certain 6 to 7 billion person level.
But I like this idea because they're not saying to Mila Kunis, to Jupiter, like, oh, we both look like humans, but we're different species. In the way that, like, Luke Skywalker is an alien.
Right, but he's a humanoid.
Right, exactly. They're like, oh, no, we're literally the same species. You're an alien. There aren't human beings of Earth. We find a bunch of planets.
Yeah.
We move into them. We build a bunch of people. We wait a couple millennia until they're, like, nice and cooked.
Uh-huh.
And then we go in and we harvest them. Yeah. We get all the life out of them.
Right. And it's like we seeded Earth like 100,000 years ago.
Yeah. Now, this is like the 3rd time the Wachowskis have been going to this well.
Yeah.
Like people
It's very Matrix.
Yeah.
And of course, Cloud Atlas also in a little, it's less of
one
a
of the
prominent
6.
thing, one of the 6 storylines, but yes, also has this idea of humans basically used as food.
Yeah. And in, whatchamacallit, in the Matrix, they're used as sort of energy.
Yep.
They're an energy source.
Batteries.
Right. And in this one, we're like currency.
Yeah, kind of, but we're also basically like a high-end beauty product. We buy people more time.
But that's the thing. I mean, Tuppence Middleton says is she goes like, all the silly stuff that your people squabble about on your
She's
planet.
like, when you're practically immortal like me, all you want is to live longer.
Right.
Yeah.
But she's like, there are all these things you're fighting over, like land,
Energy,
like
yada,
energy,
yada,
like
oil,
money,
yeah.
oil. Like none of that matters. The only valuable resource is time.
Yeah, it's much like the hit film About Time.
Yeah.
No, or the hit film In Time.
That's the one you're thinking
That's what
of.
I'm thinking of.
Yeah, it's not like About Time, which is a cute movie.
Yeah, sure.
I like it.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Like that movie.
But I like that they go so elemental in this, and they really they start mapping this 1% thing.
Yeah, so the film has this very broad consumer, critique of the moneyed class aristocracy type thing going on, but very broad, very space opera broad.
Very space opera broad. I guess this what makes it. This what makes it different. This is what makes it different than the last two depictions they've done of similar things, right? In this one, we're really getting FaceTime with the people who make this decision.
Sure.
Like in The Matrix, there's Sentinels, whatever. There's
They're
fucking flying
machines.
things, right? In Cloud Atlas, it's like we don't see who's at the top of the chain.
Yeah, we don't get to that.
Right? We don't see who's made those decisions. In this, they're sitting down in a personable way, going like, why
Look,
wouldn't
this
you
is
if
the
you
way
could
it
live
is.
forever? If you got to break a few eggs, if you got to waste other people's lives, that's what you do. Which is sort of like, I mean, this kind of Madoff-y thing where it's like, well, if you want to make a couple $1 billion, you got to not care about other fucking people.
Well, and also it's like, I like this idea that comes in later where she's worrying about signing over the deed to Earth to Eddie Redmayne.
Yeah.
And he's like, don't worry. Like, I won't even harvest the planet for another few hundred years. You won't even know about it.
Yeah.
You're going to be dead. It's like, honestly, it doesn't affect most people's lives.
Which I love.
There's like 100 billion people live and die during this like growth
over
period.
and over again. Yeah.
And then, right at the end, you got to skim like 8 billion people off the top. That's no nice. That's no nice.
Yeah, that's no nice.
That's a no nice. But
we're gonna put that
otherwise,
on a T-shirt that we'll sell on Amazon.
That's no nice.
That's a no nice.
But it is sort of this like equivalency thing, like or what like they're just sort of living with the bad thing to for all the good things, right?
But the other thing I sort of dug into more watching it this second time because the plot I had sort of figured out more, so I was able to kind of read into what they were doing, and it's not very hidden, right? I mean, it's pretty basic.
It's pretty basic
surface stuff. They're painting with a very broad brush here, a thick brush, but they keep on talking about. I mean, it's this idea of like they're old moneyed people. They're rich because they were born rich. They will always be rich. Like, this is eternal. They are literally, like, pretty much eternal because they have this resource, but it's like they're sort of born into a sociopathy of, like, you deserve this. You do whatever you can to keep this going.
Yep.
You've been given this opportunity. And when they talk about Jupiter, who is sort of, this reincarnation, which makes her part of the bloodline. Right. She's now being told that she's part of it, which is like the Cinderella fantasy, Oh, you're meant to be a princess,
Yeah.
A lot of those stories where you don't know who you are. This is who you really are. You're Harry Potter. You're living under the staircase, but you're actually the most powerful wizard in the world. They keep on using the word entitlement.
Right.
They go like, we need to sign your entitlement.
Mm-hmm.
You are entitled to this,
Mm-hmm.
It's this idea of like, because of who you are, not what you did, you have this power. And all you have to do is just turn your head the other way.
Right.
Is just not care about who you're hurting. And she doesn't sit well with her.
Well, this is the thing about the movie that is good and bad.
Yes.
Is that her triumph and her experience has already been lived, which is, I mean, I tweeted this. I found the tweet. If you want to read it aloud.
Jupiter Ascending is basically a movie about how the privileged class should clean toilets for 25 years before being given access to money. Was that from the time of its release?
No, I just tweeted it just now.
Oh, good. Okay.
Like, a few days ago. But it's like the reason she has like a strong moral center and like a disgust for what they're doing and it's kind of a disinterest in her quote unquote entitlement is because she's already lived a nice, like, tough life.
Yeah, she's been like invisible to society for so long. She knows what it's like to not be looked at as a person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So she doesn't want to treat humanity that way.
Right.
And so
you even get that in the scene.
What it takes to inspire a revolution. Unfortunately, that's not something the film can really depict happening. It's more just like we already kind of assume she's not going to go for it.
Yeah.
She doesn't go for it.
I mean, that's by the nature of this film.
This is to me where the movie kind of grinds to a halt and has some trouble.
Yeah, I mean, I think they did want to make sequels to this film. I think this film works as its own self-contained story.
I
but
mean,
you could see
do any sequel because this is a universe in which literally anything is possible.
Right.
You could just be like, there's some trouble on the planet Boop-a-doop, and you just fly over there. It's like, what's there? Oh, they're all gelatinous cubes. We're going to have to deal with that. Like, they could do whatever they wanted.
Like, I mean, yes, I agree with you that it cuts both ways. You could see how this film sets the stage beautifully for a sequel where she is empowered. She's the queen of Earth. She can do whatever she wants.
Sure.
This film, because she's the babe in the woods, because she's the one coming into this world, she's our surrogate character, She's the one who doesn't understand anything. A lot of the film has to be her learning stuff.
And going, what?
Right.
Oh, me?
Right, and sort of just making the choice of where she stands. That's her power, right? Is like, what do I believe in? If in the third act she was like, fuck this, I'm suiting up, and became a warrior, we probably would have the complaint of like, that's pretty fast transition that she becomes this powerful.
Well, or you could have done the classic, like first act she's nobody, second act tempted by royalty, gets into all this business as she's flying around with tuppence, then realizes, wait a second, these blue baths are people, and then rebels. But instead it's like, who am I? What is all this? These blue baths are people. Oh, I don't like that. Like, it's all at once.
Well, yeah, but even the one you were throwing out, I mean, I feel like there are a lot of movies like that where someone picks up a gun having scrubbed toilets for 25 years.
I get what your point is,
right.
But they don't do that.
They don't do that.
Right.
But also what they do is shitty in its own way, which is like she doesn't really get to do anything other than just let people know what she thinks.
The biggest problem with the movie is that once she's at Titus's planet, ship, whatever, Gugu Mbatha Raw is there, is a...
Gugu Mbatha Raw.
Is a lady with
Gugu
ears.
Mbatha Raw.
All right. What was that?
You didn't like that?
It was okay.
I was doing ODB.
Yeah. Yeah.
I watched the movie this morning and I was like, that'd be a funny thing to do. You should do that.
I just don't want to make fun of her name, I guess.
I don't either. I love her. I'm not making fun of her. She's one of my favorite actresses. I was like, here's honestly what was going on. I got a notification about the Star Wars Card Trader app. Here's what was going on.
Do you still use it every day?
Yeah.
I do too, but it's sort of become perfunctory.
I'm only chasing one series now. Whereas the 77s.
Yeah.
I'm in it for the 77s and nothing else. I like, and the Fan's Choice, but that's easy because they're free. I just have to remember to check in. Please make trades on Griff Lightning on the Star Wars Card Trader app. You're David L. Sims?
David L. Sims.
Yeah. Feel free to make us any trade requests. Anyway, what I was going to say is I love Gugu Mbatha Raw.
Me too.
She's one of my favorite actresses.
Great.
I want her to be the biggest star in the world.
Sure.
I was watching this film, and every time she came on screen, she doesn't have a large part. She plays
ears.
Yeah, she's got like bat ears.
She's an eared lady.
She's got like bat ears. She's got like big sonar bat ears, or maybe like deer ears. I don't know what animal she's supposed to be.
She's supposed to be a deer. Her name
is?
Yes, Famulus. Yeah.
Oh, okay, so that makes sense.
Hey, I got a problem.
Yeah, shoot, Ben.
All right, cool. So this is what tripped me up at least.
Okay.
All right. So apparently humans are from this like ancient form of humans that's like from another galaxy, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
But still, if we know about evolution, humans come from monkeys. So do we?
Oh, you're saying
do
this
we
is
come
an
from
anti-
space monkeys?
Yes.
Yeah.
Then
space monkeys.
But did they then bring space monkeys to the planet?
Probably. They probably just imitate their evolution on another planet.
I want to see these space monkeys.
Yeah, me too.
Good question. Good call. Space monkeys.
The way I viewed it is this film is presupposing that like every species that we know has the potential to evolve into a human being.
Oh, interesting.
What?
Into like a humanoid type figure.
What do you mean?
Because you have all these, you got like elephant
no, he's
dude.
right though. There's dragon people.
I think those,
I think they're
those are
supposed to be dinosaurs,
those
right?
are
Or lizards?
splices. They
Are
keep
all of them splices?
I think so. Not the dinosaurs.
See, I think Channing's a splice. I'm sorry. I think Kane Wise is a splice because he says so explicitly, but he's also just got like a touch of the dog, you know? But I look at like the Elephant Man you see at like the controls. I mean, maybe I'm just creating my own fucking crazy backstory to this.
They
so
don't
wait,
explain
are
it.
animals then just aliens?
Is
and there's like dog
this
planets,
a Zootopia
and there's
situation?
rhino planets.
Is this a Zootopia situation, yes or no?
Is this one part of the ZCU? Yes.
What do you think of Zootopia?
Good movie.
So is Earth
I
just
liked
like
it a lot.
Is Earth like we bought a zoo?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
God, that
All right,
seems
we-
like a vote for Cameron Crowe.
We
Yeah.
solved that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Great.
Ben, which one do you want us to do?
Let's say this actually, Ben. I mean, give us who you'd pick out of the four, but also if you could pick any filmmaker, who would your next miniseries topic be?
wow. Hey, Jeez, you really put me on the spot here.
You can think about it. We'll
Let's
we'll
cut
throw it back
back
at the end of the episode.
We'll get through this, and then I'll have an answer by then.
What I was gonna say was that I love Gugu Mbatha-Raw. She makes me really happy. When I saw her in the movie, I started like singing songs to myself.
That's
I was
fine,
trying to
that's
come up with a
fine.
song
I
that
know,
incorporated
I
her
know.
name, and I was like, Gugu Mbatha-Raw, because her name's fun to say. So I was like, come up with original songs, and then I was like, you could just map ODB onto it. I'm
Yeah.
sorry if it seemed
No,
disrespectful.
It's fine.
I
Let's
was
just
trying to
move
celebrate
on,
her.
Please, I'm hungry. I am hungry.
Go Mbatha-Raw.
But so the problem, my complaint is at
Yeah.
the Titus scene,
Yes.
the Titus scenes,
Uh-huh.
he's like, I hate these blue, the harvesting. I hate it all. It's terrible.
My mother hated it. She was trying to stop it.
Yeah,
I want to
but
pick
you-
up where
you-
she left off.
You,
You're my mother.
So let's get married.
Yeah.
Nobody says like, but I'm your mom, right?
Yeah, because the other two characters keep on being like, Mom.
You are basically my mother.
Right, and she even, like, her last big line to Eddie Redmayne is like, I'm not your mother.
We'll get to that.
I know.
We'll get
But
to that.
but
I have some
Titus, like,
problems
doesn't
with that.
push the mommy thing at all.
No, he's just like, let's get married.
we're friends.
And she's like, I guess so. And he's like, great, I've hired 100,000 robots to be the audience
Everyone's
for our
ready.
wedding.
Yeah, and the robots have, like, gun arms. And it's not like their forearms are guns. It's like right at the shoulder they have guns, and they have little stubs. They have little nubby guns at their shoulders.
So,
Laser guns.
I mean, and he even says, like, you're even more gullible than my mother was, or something like that.
Which is probably my least favorite moment in the movie.
Yeah, it's bad. And, like, yes, she's getting swept up in something that is so obviously not good.
Yeah, it's obviously a
And
ploy.
she doesn't, like, inquire. And how does she say? Fucking Channing Tatum space roller skates from one ship to another.
Yeah, I mean, she's not in love with him. There's no...
There's no reason to do it.
But I'm saying, like, I admire that the film doesn't do a sort of Frozen fake out where it's like, oh, she thinks she's in love with this guy, and then she realizes the guy was just in it for the castle, right?
Uh-huh.
Like, it seems pretty clear from the get-go that this is a strategic marriage.
I understand.
But it also happens so fucking quickly.
So fast.
Yeah. And,
I assume
and she makes the decision so quickly.
He kind of tries to frame it as like, oh, you need to marry me to, like, secure Earth's, safety and all.
Yeah, because Eddie Redmayne's going to sweep in. He's like a problem guy, so you don't want to deal with him.
Yeah.
The two siblings are against Eddie Redmayne. Like, that's very clear from the beginning. Even the opening
Kind
scene.
of.
They don't like him.
Tuppence is kind of playing the middle, though.
Yeah. She's straddling the line, maybe. But Eddie's definitely like the black sheep of the family. The quiet sheep.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, they're having a wedding ceremony. There's a cool thing where they fucking... is this before or after the bureaucracy scene?
Before or after the bureaucracy scene?
The Brazil sequence.
No, I think it's after. We forgot about that, and we should talk about it. I think that in the middle, she goes to the capital planet or whatever.
They're like, you got to get certified
the
as...
Coruscant,
Right.
if you will.
You have to get certified as the queen of
And
Earth.
there's an excellent sequence
Mhm.
where she has a robot helper whose name is Intergalactic Advocate Bob.
Probably my favorite character in the film.
100%. 1,000% the best character.
If you had to do a Holy Trinity in this film, who would it be?
Intergalactic Advocate Bob.
Number one with a bullet, no question.
Number one with a bullet. Chicanery Knight, Mr. Knight. I
Is
love
it
him.
Mouse Man?
Yeah.
I'd probably do Gugu as number two, but she's getting grandfathered in because of her past work.
Character. She's got a shitty character. Don't like that character. Don't like that character. Sorry, I am stalling while I look at the cast list and decide who the third character that I want in my trinity is.
I mean, Eddie Redmayne is probably my third. Yeah.
I guess so. I'm just trying to think if there's like another really cool, weird little character to like spotlight. I do enjoy.
Vladdy?
No, I hate him.
He
I
sucks.
hate him. I do enjoy Tim Pigott-Smith as Maledictes, who's another of these fucking like, oh, afternoon, sire.
Yeah.
You know, like it's just like a guy with makeup on his face.
Yeah.
But also, what's her name? The Nikki Amuka Bird. She's like the captain.
Oh, yeah, she's cool.
A lot. If we were doing a 10-part miniseries, I think
Yeah.
we'd have some fun with her. She projects a lot of confidence
Yeah.
and like captaincy,
Yeah.
even though she doesn't like have much to do.
But she does that like on the record, off the record thing too. Like you get a sense that she's not just about business.
She's like, I disavow your actions, Channing Tatum, but off the record, you're the bravest man I know,
Yeah.
or whatever. That's fun because he like roller skates into the Great Red Spot or
Yeah.
whatever. This movie looks so
oh my
good.
God.
It's such a good-looking movie.
Look, it's beautifully designed. I'm not surprised, right? Wachowski's, these folks know how to design stuff.
$175 million.
But it's all up on screen.
It's on screen. It looks great. But anyway, as we're saying, they go to the capital planet, and she has to verify, and and with intergalactic advocate Bob, who's like a robot man,
and he's going crazy. Like he was built to advocate.
He's played by Samuel Barnett.
He can't deal with this shit. The fucking bureaucracy. Oh, you have to go here. You have to get this paper. They told us we had to come here to get this paper. Well, it doesn't matter what they told you. You have to get this paper to get this paper.
It's very Terry Gilliam. It's very tactile. There's all this wacky business.
Stamps, gears running in his head. Yeah.
Love it. And then Terry Gilliam shows up for a second in an obvious and loving nod to his oeuvre.
Yeah, and once again, they just fucking didn't change his look at all. It's so
He's being very
lazy.
He's being funny, guys.
He's got a laser monocle, right? He's got an orange computer monocle, and they made him look even more like a bridge troll than he usually does.
And it's a second where you're just sort of idly thinking man, this whole thing is so Brazil. It's so Terry Gilliam, and then you're like, that guy kind of looks like Terry Gilliam.
Yeah.
Wait, that guy's Terry Gilliam.
The Wachowskis are going
cameo.
don't worry, we know.
It's a good cameo.
We know what you're thinking.
And then she goes off to Titus. Channing Tatum rescues her. And it's well,
first he's they're done. Job is done. There's also a moment I don't like in the film where they get on the ship before they go through all the bureaucracy when she's meeting the crew and everything, the captain, Bird, whatever her real name is.
Yeah.
Her character name is, rather.
Yeah.
And Stinger shows up. She thought Stinger was dead because when they left him, he was fighting off all the guys.
Oh, Jesus. And they're it turns out Stinger betrayed you or something.
Well, before this, right. No, that I'm saying before this, there's the moment. I'm going back a little just to talk about this one line I hate. Or the line reading, rather, where they're and we got someone else you might know here, and the door opens up, and it's Stinger. And Mila Kunis goes, Stinger! As if it's her old friend.
It's you literally spent 20 minutes together in a barn.
And you spent 15 minutes apart.
Yeah.
You know, you saw him really recently.
Well, but Sean Bean is a lovable man.
He's lovable.
Third build.
Yeah, and he's really good in
build
this,
above Redmayne.
Yeah.
Got that third billing.
Got that third billing. Gotta get that turd billing.
I'm so hungry.
Me too. I need a sandwich so badly. But the film treats it as if we're stunned and thrilled that Stinger's back, and it's yeah, dude's third bill. I knew he was gonna be back.
Yeah, Stinger's here, and then it's oh, and he betrayed you.
That happens later. So they go through the bureaucracy. Then they're
Then she goes to Titus. Titus tries to marry her. It gets broken
but you see Channing Tatum, and he's they're job's done. You're out of here. And then he's just fuck. And Stinger gives him the speech.
Yeah, he's
you spent your whole life looking for one thing.
Listen to me. No,
searching. Yeah, lone wolf. You've been searching for one thing, and now you found her. Gotta go get her. Gotta run after her. So he gets on his crazy shit with his crazy rocket boots, and he goes, plans this attack, breaks through the wall. They're lasering the ring around her finger, which is cool.
Yeah, that's fine. I like that.
It's cool.
Yeah,
and
that's
then
cool.
He gets her out of there.
Ceremony. He gets her out of there.
It's this is fucked. He's gonna kill you the second after the ceremony's done. He wants the planet, and immediately Douglas Booth is you're prettier than my mother ever was, and even more gullible. And it's really that quickly you're gonna be okay, you got me. I'm a piece of shit. I'll announce it to everybody. Yeah.
And the only reason he doesn't die is because Mila Kunis is just get me out of here.
Yeah, they're do you want me to kill her? And she's no, I don't want anyone to die. How many times do I have to say this?
But
then
you're all right. You're kind of all right. This movie's getting to be about an hour 50, hour 45. What's happening?
I took a pause at this moment to check on the timestamp. It's an hour 30.
Okay.
And in another film, it feels that would be the third act climax.
But
you save her from the wedding.
They have to kind of rush through it.
Yeah.
Because Balem has kidnapped her Russian family.
But I kind of like this because I feel it's a fake out ending. Not that you believe the movie's going to actually end at that point.
No, because Eddie Redmayne hasn't been dealt with.
Right. But that's the trigger that makes you realize. But a lot of stories like this, it's you save him from the wedding. The real true love comes. They do the rescue. End of story. And it's nope, you got one more boss to defeat.
Yeah, so she goes to Jupiter because Balem's there. He's kidnapped her fucking
She goes home
family.
first. The family, a lizard man comes in, then mouse dude, and they're So she goes back up to space. There's a beautiful shot earlier in the film I forgot to mention where the rings of Saturn, where a ship crashes through them as if it's a submarine coming out of the waves.
So cool.
Do you know what I like about the visuals of this movie? Aside from the fact that they're very well designed, I think the Wachowskis just having experience composite these images really well, so the images feel cohesive and united. The live action plates and the CGI elements feel connected.
I agree with you. I just don't think it's true of the action, which I think is very perfunctory. I don't think the action works as well.
Here's what I like about it, okay? I'll say what I like about the design, then what I like about the action.
Come on, man, yeah.
I like that this film feels like it doesn't have any walls, right? Like, when you see, like, the Marvel Thor movies, Asgard is, like, it looks like a neighborhood. Like, you don't get a sense of the place. This movie, anytime they cut to somewhere new, it's like, this thing just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
I kind of agree with you in terms of the sets or whatever, but not the ships, which I think are really kind of...
I like the design of the ship.
No, they look like whatever. What do they look like? They look like a bird.
Fractals. Yeah, they look like they look like the one
after the design of the Matrix, which has such great design for like the squids and the harvesting pods and the ships and all that stuff. It's so cool. This is which I admire. This is them just doing a completely different thing.
It's gaudy. It's like the Renaissance.
Yes.
It's like these golden.
But I don't think it works.
Ships.
You know what's a cool, gaudy Renaissance ship?
What?
The Naboo Royal Starship.
We're talking all-time best ships ever.
Just less business. Make me see the ship. I want to have a real
clean designs.
Yeah, because the action scene where Channing Tatum and Sean Bean have to like break through the like force field of ship, like have to break through the defenses to get to Jupiter. Yeah. Total nonsense.
I'll say this about the action scenes, okay? I don't know if I find them that exciting. Like, I don't feel
really
a
boring.
visceral thrill watching them.
Yeah, because you know what's going to happen.
But I do think they're so beautiful that I like looking at them.
Yeah, especially more the hand-to-hand shooting stuff is pretty cool looking.
Well, but even the ship stuff, and especially I like all the stuff where Channing's rocket skating around.
That's what I said. That
the
hand-to-hand stuff.
Yeah,
that stuff's good.
Right. But what I like about it is, and this just gets to them being good filmmakers, good storytellers, right? They do a lot of crazy video game camera. This thing that's like, you have a camera digitally connected to like 2 feet behind over the shoulder of the character, and you're watching them go through crazy stuff. And there's a little bit of like an uncanny valley thing where when you're watching stuff like that, half the movie shot with a real camera, you kind of check out because you're like, real camera couldn't do that, okay?
Yep. And you also know, like, Channing's got this.
I'm saying the other films do that. I think they do it better than other people. Here's why. They back up. Like, they stay far back. So when there's, like, the ship in the middle or whatever, or Channing, like, jumping through it, they keep him small in the image, so even if the camera's moving around, we, like, have a sense of, like, not spatial geography because they're moving through spaces really quickly.
Geography of this movie sucks.
But we know where he is.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
And you see him in his surroundings.
I don't think we're going to agree on this.
And it's not too herky-jerky. I don't think they work as action sequences. No. I think they work as, like visual poetry, David.
I don't agree. I think the action lets this movie down. And if it didn't, which obviously, like, in a movie like The Matrix, it doesn't.
Yeah, it would
then
maybe
you'd have a great movie on your hands.
Yeah.
And instead, you have a really pretty cool movie that looks great, has a lot of great ideas, but does suffer in the plot and action department a little bit. Which I think is fine.
Bit.
Like, it's okay. They don't have to hit a home run every single time.
Can we talk about another good element that feeds into especially the action sequences?
What's the element?
The score.
Score is great.
Michael Giacchino.
Love the score.
Guy fucking rules.
Written before the film was made.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
It feels like that.
Which they also did with Cloud Atlas.
Yeah, and I know James Newton Howard. James Newton Howard did with Unbreakable as well. Another movie that feels like
Hans Zimmer did with Interstellar.
Really defined themes, Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. It's like, have you ever listened to it? It's like Jupiter Ascending, Act 1, 2, 3, 4, like leads off the score.
Like an opera?
Exactly.
Here's the joke I make about Michael Giacchino. We made it at our friend Joe Reed's
shout out Joe Reed
Spelling Bee, which will be coming up. We're doing another one soon in Brooklyn.
When are we doing it?
I forget the date, but I'll advertise it at the time. June.
Okay, cool.
June something. I forget the date.
Great.
I think it's June 20 something, or teen something. I don't know. It's coming up. Anyway, it's a fun event where we do a spelling bee with all actors' names.
I'm still smarting about how I went out on Mila Jovovich because Griffin's joke about her kind of tripped me up, but it doesn't matter.
She has a sexual fetish for mid-tier
and then I like
genre directors,
and I was like, yeah, Paul W.S. Anderson, and then I spelled her name Mila Jovovich, like I forgot the double O.
You forgot the JoJo.
Yeah,
Jovo.
Yeah.
But yeah, my job was to read out the sort of
little
like, can
jokes.
you use it in a sentence kind of things. And my one for Michael Giacchino is Michael Giacchino's scores sound like he's a really good dad.
I forgot, but I remember now. That is so good.
But I'm really proud of it because I think it's funny, but I also think it's a good piece of film criticism. Like, you listen to, like, why do I like his score so much? This guy just has a great heart.
He's
like, you hear his beating heart in all his scores. Did the Speed Racer score as well, which is incredible. does all the Brad Bird's movies, a lot of the Pixar movies. Dude,
Star Trek.
rules.
His two Star Trek scores for Abrams are top notch.
Cannot wait for him to do a Star Wars movie.
How dare you? John Williams will never die.
But Desplat is doing
He's doing Rogue One.
Yeah, a
that's
story.
cool.
Let him do a story. A Star Wars story. Not a saga entry. Anyway.
The end of this movie is basically an action sequence set inside the big red spot of Jupiter. You know, say those words to me, I'm just like, yeah, like so happy. But I was complaining about this to you earlier, I think, where it's like Balem is like, okay, you have to sign over the deed to Earth, and then I promised I won't harvest it for a few hundred years.
Right.
And I am at this point completely hung up on like, wait, I was trying to kill her earlier. Why can't he just kill her? Then the deed will like revert to him. And maybe it's because she like certified herself.
Yes.
And like doesn't have a will that would leave it to him. That's fine.
If they had killed her early,
no, I get it.
in the operation room or in
she wouldn't have been able to claim the title,
and they wouldn't have been able to prove that she existed and all that. At this point, she's been certified. She's got the tattoo.
I get it, but in the movie, you're just like you're kind of like.
But I also think this ties to how many rescues there are in the film. Like the film, on a basic structural level, is like. You just get the main strokes. Like, what does the character need to do at this moment? Even if you understand the larger machinations at play.
I buy that argument. I know what you're saying.
I think the film does kind of work on that level.
Basically, because she just has to make the decision of, like, you know what? I want to free my family because he's holding her family hostage.
Yes.
You know, but I can't doom billions of lives just for that. So I won't do it. Now, she is a little distracted by Channing Tatum, like, flying around on his roller skates and fighting dragons and stuff.
I mean, who wouldn't be distracted?
But, you know, she basically comes to this herself, and it's good. And then there's a bunch of nonsense that happens.
Mm-hmm.
Nonsense. And Redmayne doesn't get a ton to do. He does say, I created life.
Yeah, he does it really well, though.
My problem with Redmayne is that in his final confrontation with her, where they're on this like landing platform that's about to fall into the mining abyss or whatever, you know, they kind of like get blown around the. What are you looking up?
I'm looking up a tweet.
Okay, fair enough.
Here.
All I need to.
Eric Brown, listener, fan of the show, had a really good run of tweets on Jupiter Ascending. But he said, people compare Jupiter Ascending to an anime, which is apt, but it's also like Jack Kirby directed a female-led Matrix Reloaded in space.
I mean, yeah, that's great.
But the Jack Kirby comparison I really like, because Jack Kirby was just sort of like, more stuff. Let's just keep going bigger. Let's keep on going crazier with these ideas. And like all his Fourth World books, he had more time to sort of explain everything and lay out the pieces.
Right.
But this really does feel like a Jack Kirby movie to me, and especially now that the DC universe is going into the Jack Kirby elements, you know? The fucking Batman vs. Superman teases Darkseid, and apparently Steppenwolf is the villain in the next movie, and like Cyborg came out of a mother box and whatever.
I swear to God.
It's so frustrating to me to see that Zack Snyder's the one who's getting the chance to do Fourth World because he's so literal and so oppressively like self-serious.
The Wachowskis would
and
do
I
a good
watched this and it's like,
movie.
oh my God.
It's
the
true. That's a good call.
Wachowskis should have a DC fucking movie and get to do all the intergalactic
stuff. No, but
stuff.
they'll never do something like that.
No, they never will.
They're too original and weird and strange, and they don't want to do a franchise movie, is my assumption.
Yeah.
Because they've never really sniffed around that kind of stuff.
I mean,
Speed Racer's the closest they came to making a
and it was a property that no one else wanted to make
at
that point in time. The other Eric Brown tweet I liked is the Wachowskis are time travelers here to accelerate human consciousness with beautiful, crazy films about being nice to each other.
That's a good
I think it's really good.
But you interrupted my point.
Sorry.
My fascinating
You asked me what I was looking for. I was going to save those
I
tweets for later.
Redmayne is about to die, basically, and he's like, you know what my mother said to me before I killed her? She wanted me to kill her. You know, he's like revealing this thing we already basically knew.
Yeah, because he's talking like that.
And
he's the bad guy.
Suddenly loading mommy issues onto Jupiter.
Yeah.
He's like, mother, you asked me to do it. And she's like, I'm not your damn mother, and kills him.
Yeah.
But like, also like, no. You need that from minute one. I am not interested in him suddenly being a Weasley little mommy's boy. Like, I'm happy to do that, but make it a grander arc. It sucks. And it feels like they're only doing it so she can have that, like, okay line, although it should be, I'm not your fucking mother. Like,
that should be.
Use the fuck. You've got a PG-13. You got one fuck.
But here's the thing you were saying about the PG-13.
You got one fuck.
PG's a hindrances. PG-13 is a hindrances.
Yeah, this movie should be violent and crazy. And there should be, like, bug guts everywhere.
Or
bug guts.
Or it should be PG.
Yeah.
I think this film's in a weird middle ground.
But I think like studios are just like, no way. Like,
but this
not
film
allowed.
kind of feels more like a kid's movie in a lot of ways.
Yeah, definitely.
It's in a weird middle zone. And you were talking about
it's like about becoming a space princess. Like it's like very
Right.
simple, yeah. But much like Speed Racer, it's also about like intergalactic politics and business.
But when you were saying that, like, you know, The Matrix sets up a similar way, here are a lot of crazy concepts, here are things you don't understand, we're going to throw you into the middle of it through this one character who's learning it as you learn it, and you don't need to know what's happening, you'll get it eventually, or at least you'll get the broad strokes. I think, you know, The Matrix is a masterpiece. This is nowhere near as good, even if I have a crush on it and I want to make out with this movie.
Me too, I agree.
But, like, fundamentally, I think the reason why The Matrix was so big and this film flopped so hard is that this thing I keep on getting back to is, like, post-Matrix, the Wachowskis completely gave up on trying to be cool, right?
I agree.
And The Matrix, for whatever reason,
that's one thing that's wonderful about it.
Is as dense as this film, right? It's clearer if you want to dig in, but it is as dense. But it is, by chance, by luck, by whatever, at that moment, they synced up with some sort of cultural notion of hipness.
You know, I agree
right?
with you,
and some
though.
aesthetic coolness.
When you compare that movie with its like heavy metal score and its leather jackets and its sunglasses and its machine guns and its kung fu, and then this is like opera and like crazy like Renaissance style like architecture and like fractal spaceships and
was, like,
goofy animal people and like.
I think this movie should have been marketed. I understand why they didn't want to do it because
you
it's a
can't
bunch
market
of fucking old men who don't want to believe in other people. But like this movie is meant for, I feel like young girls. You know? Like at the time The Matrix came out, everyone was like, "Oh, it's like these dorky like anime like sci-fi bros." It sort of feels to me like this is like them being like, "This is the movie that we wanted to see as like children growing up."
Sure.
You know?
I think they wanted to see The Matrix too, though. They're not disowning The Matrix. It's just they never want to repeat themselves,
But this
except
is
for
like
Matrix.
a fairy tale. It's like The Princess Bride, you know? And it is like this fantasy fulfillment element. You know, it feels like it's adapted from a YA novel that we never got to read. It featured, you know, two hot young stars. Like, I felt like they messed up on this film by trying to push it to, like, sci-fi dudes.
Yeah.
Who were like, fuck this. It's got cat people
They made
in
it an
it.
action movie. Yeah, right.
Yeah, you know? I don't know if it was ever going to be a huge hit. It's an odd, esoteric film, you know? And it's so clearly them doing what they want to do in such an open-hearted way. And that sort of sincerity isn't very hip these days. But I like it.
I like it too.
It
I
ends
basically agree with you.
with the rescue, they get out, and then we flash forward. Her
And
family
she's-
buys her.
Yeah, her family's memories have been rewritten, so they
Yeah.
forgot about it. But I think the implication is like maybe they've also been rewritten to just be a little nicer to Jupiter.
Yeah, and they buy
They
her
buy her a golden telescope.
much like her daddy had.
Very nice, which she was looking at on eBay like earlier in the
Yeah.
movie. And then she's dating.
That's why she was going to sell her eggs.
Yeah, I know. And she's dating. Sorry.
They go, can we go check out the telescope on the roof? And Kent got a date tonight. And they're like, who is he? Is he Russian? Does he do this? And she's like, I don't know. And they all
They
laugh
go,
in unison.
Card cut.
Card cut.
It's kind of weird.
A hard fucking
she's,
cut.
So she's like, you know, still cleans toilets. She is the queen of Earth who
Yeah.
owns it.
Cool.
And she's dating Channing Tatum, and he has giant golden eagle wings.
He's got his wings back now. They gave him mecha
What?
wings.
Normal. Written and directed by the Wachowskis.
Well, now he's got these wings. Does he need those hyper skates? No, he gave him the
Give 'em to
Jupiter.
her. Give 'em
And
to
they
her.
just swirl around Chicago, the skyline together. It's beautiful. A kiss on the lips to you, Jupiter ascending.
So now I'm going to just throw a lot of stuff at you that we need to do.
Sure.
Okay. One thing I want to mention to you is a thing on Wikipedia that when I read it made my head hurt.
Okay.
An 8-minute-long chase sequence, codenamed 52 Part by the film's crew, depicts Jupiter and Kane fleeing from aliens and spaceships in downtown Chicago.
Sure.
You know the
Yeah.
scene. It was the longest sequence in the script, involving the most difficult stunts. To complete it, Kunis and Tatum had to film every day for 6 months. That's crazy.
So they're saying that like it was a 6-month shoot, and every day of filming had at least one piece of that sequence.
I don't know. It's too vague to tell if it means that the shoot was 6 months every single day, or if it was just the rig for these crazy stunts that took 6 months.
That's impossible.
It seems impossible.
That's impossible. But I wouldn't.
Either way,
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, I do like that sequence, and I will say this: there are a bunch of shots.
It's okay.
There are a bunch of shots in that sequence where you can tell that Channing Tatum is actually being like
Yeah, I see what
flown
you're saying.
around.
You
which
know
is
what's
tough.
a good sequence? When Neo gets shot and he like flies back, and that took him a day. It took him a day. And everybody remembers that.
I just like it was a big production. They got to make this crazy. I mean, this is such a blank check movie, and coming off of 2 massive failures, you know?
Very much so.
I mean, technically 3. I mean, The Matrix Revolutions really disappointed the box office as well. But at that point, they'd already
made some money.
Yeah.
It made money.
And they made a profit off the second one because they shot them together. But this was like their big, like, okay, all that other stuff, don't worry about that. Now we're going to make you a real Wachowski movie.
Yeah.
And they got $175 million to make something that was like cool sci-fi. And yeah.
Well, we'll get to the box office. Another thing I want to say that makes me sad.
Yeah.
Is that in a Reddit AMA, I don't know if you know this, Channing Tatum was asked by a user,
oh no,
Jupiter Ascending, what was that?
Yeah.
And he shot back, great question. I have the same one myself. Not that mean, but a little dismissive.
Yeah,
so he might not have been
prepared
happy.
for worse.
Yeah.
Our buddy Derek, my good friend, great friend, best
Derek
friend,
Simon?
Derek Simon. He and I were really excited for this movie, and like we're really disappointed when it got pushed back. And we're looking at the trailers and everything, and we're like, "Why do you think it got pushed back?" And he was like, "I just read this interview with Channing, where he said, like, you know, after I had my big year, I got offered all this stuff, and I think I made too many movies, and I'm worried that some of them I didn't put enough into."
Yeah.
Obviously, put enough time into this, but I could see him being like, "I got to go from this to that to that."
And there
to
was
that.
a lot of business that he was probably just roller skating around. I mean, it's not shocking that he wouldn't understand. He doesn't have a lot of scenes.
No.
Just like him and Mila Kunis hanging out.
No. They do have a really good kiss, though. It's like a really good on-screen kiss.
It's a good kiss. I agree.
Yeah.
So the box office is 47 million domestic.
Oh, boy.
136 worldwide. It clears $190 million, basically. $183 million. Basically the budget.
But still higher domestic gross than Speed Racer or Cloud Atlas.
Yeah, by doubling almost.
Yeah, so what was it worldwide?
183.
Yeah.
Not good.
That's not good.
So, we're going to play the box office
Yeah.
game. There's a regular segment called the box office game.
Yeah.
The weekend of February the 6th, 2015. Can you give me this film open number 3 at the box office?
Yeah, well, I can absolutely give you number 1 because I remember having a hard time choosing which film I saw first that weekend. And I did end up seeing the number 1 film first.
I have not seen this film.
It is really good.
Yeah, I want to see it.
I believe the proper title of that film is The SpongeBob Movie, Sponge Out of Water.
Correct.
Yeah.
55 million opening weekend.
Deserved it.
Eventually cleared 162 domestic.
Solid film, better than the first, like it a lot.
I like the first one.
I do too. I just think this one's better. Also a film with a terrible marketing campaign because they centered everything around the live-action segment at the end.
Which is like barely in it,
10 minutes. Yeah. That's the end.
Anyway,
yeah.
Number 2 movie had dropped from number 1 the previous week. It was in its 7th week of release.
Okay, so it was like a December. It was like a big December movie. So this is the biggest film of like December 2014. Was it American Sniper?
Correct. It was the biggest movie of 2014.
Yeah.
Even though it only was out for like 3 days in that year.
Yeah, it didn't go into wide release until 2015. Yeah. Okay.
American Sniper clearing $23 million in its 7th week.
That is bananas.
An almost Avatar level financial success that has very quickly vanished from the conversation is American Sniper.
Yeah, what other fucking drama opens to $90 million?
Fucking Clint Eastwood, man.
It's insane.
You don't mess with him.
Don't mess with
him. He
him.
shits out 8 turds, and he's just like, oh, American Sniper. What's it about? It's about a sniper. He's a sniper.
$90 million weekend.
Oh, great. It's going to make $350 domestic.
Yeah.
Anyway,
okay. So number
3, Jupe Ascending opened to 18 mil.
Yeah, poor
which is on the lower end of expectations. It was expected to open between 20 and 30.
Yeah.
Number 4.
Okay.
In its opening weekend, with $7 million on a $95 million budget.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, I think I know what it is. Was it another film that was pushed back an incredibly long time? The Seventh Son?
Just Seventh Son, I believe.
Okay.
I don't think there's a definite article there, but yes.
But
starring Jeff Bridges and Julianne Moore and Ben Barnes and Kit Harington.
Hey.
And Alicia Vikander.
Hey. That film changed studios 3 times.
That's crazy.
It was produced by one studio, and they pushed it back for 2 years, and they were like, we don't fucking want it.
Nobody saw that movie.
Nobody saw that
I refuse to believe $7 million of tickets were sold that weekend.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's also another film that weirdly did well overseas. Didn't make back its budget.
Yeah, it made 100 mil worldwide.
Yeah.
114 worldwide, yeah.
Right, and it made 14 domestic.
Yeah. 17, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Number 5 is a movie that I don't even know what it is. I don't remember. I think it's a kid's movie.
Oh, It's a kids movie.
Yeah, it's like a kids movie or something. It's like a sci-fi
so hard
movie.
for me to guess.
It's like a sci-fi kids movie. I think it's found footage.
Oh, Project Almanac.
Yeah, that's it.
Nailed
That's
it. Yeah.
Yeah, $5 million. I don't know what that is.
It was a found footage time travel movie.
Did you see it?
No, I know someone who's in it, so I just remember that film. That film also got pushed back like 3 years.
Well, there you go. It was a weird weekend.
It was a weird weekend of dusty old gems from the shelf.
Yeah, also in the box office, hanging around Paddington, which is a great movie.
Masterpiece.
Great movie. The Wedding Ringer, which was one of the 14 Kevin Hart movies.
Masterpiece.
What?
It's actually the one Kevin Hart movie I haven't seen.
Yeah, Jesus.
I don't want to see him be the straight man. Are you fucking kidding me? Get out of here.
Imitation Game, Black or White, which I believe is the Mike Binder, Kevin Costner needs to protect a black child from being adopted by her parents or something. I can't.
From her black grandparents rather than her white grandparents. That film was financed entirely by Kevin Costner.
Are you serious?
Yeah, he paid for that movie out of pocket.
Well, it cleared 21 mil domestic and 0 worldwide. Anyway. So yeah, that's the box office game.
Hey, but we should definitely start wrapping up.
I know. Yeah.
If you guys would like, I could share with you some directors that I think would be cool to do a blank check series on.
Shoot.
So, Guillermo
del Toro.
Del Toro.
Okay. Yeah.
I thought he would be
Pacific
kinda
Rim is a
interesting.
classic blank check. Katie Rich suggested Baz Luhrmann to me. He doesn't have a lot of movies, but he's an obvious candidate.
And he's got the Netflix show that's coming out in the next couple of months. Okay.
Now, all right, this probably isn't the best example, but I gotta throw it out there. Mel Gibson.
Totally.
Apocalypto, though.
Totally good example.
I would love to do it. It's
It's
once
just-
again only
I think
4
it's
movies.
4.
It's real short,
Yeah.
but it would be kind of fun.
Just
Little
we could,
problematic.
we could
Hashtag
just throw
problematic.
off a month of Gibson. Yeah.
But this one I feel actually pretty strongly about.
Okay.
So I don't know if you guys are even familiar. Do you know who Martin Brest is?
Oh yes.
Of course.
I would love
You
to do
just want
Martin
to do a
Brest.
Gigli episode.
Yeah, a writer-director of Gigli.
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
know
I would
who
just
Martin Brest
love
is.
to
But
crush,
he also made Midnight
crush
Run.
that
He made Midnight Run and fucking Beverly Hills Cop.
which are so good.
Meet Joe Black is also a total blank check
Ugh,
movie.
That movie's crazy.
And then
Yeah,
his
I've
first
never
film's
seen
Going
it.
in Style, which is has just been remade by Zach Braff.
His first movie is Hot Tomorrows.
Oh, really? So Going in Style was his second?
Yeah, but I mean, it looks like it was a tiny budget thing.
Okay.
I
would love to do Martin Brest. I would love to do Martin Brest at
Also-
some time.
Because we could do Pacino impressions.
and well, yeah, because we could do
that's
sense,
a
sense
good
of a
point.
woman. Sense of a woman. Anyway,
Oh, right, in Sense of a
yeah,
Woman.
no one will listen to that.
That's the
series.
thing. That's why I didn't even suggest Martin Brest, because it's not a very sexy idea, but maybe like fucking 5 years from now when we're just like a golden franchise. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure.
If we can float it.
So before we get to the book report,
Yeah.
we should rank the Wachowski films.
Okay.
I don't know how you feel about that.
And next week we're doing Sense8. I mean, we're not done with the Wachowskis, but we're done with their films.
Nod.
Okay. Ooh, okay. Number 1 Wachowski film. The Matrix.
I agree.
Number 2 Wachowski film. This is where it gets tough. I'm going to go Bound.
I'm going Cloud Atlas.
Number 3 Wachowski film. Speed Racer.
Me too. And
Interesting.
Cloud and Speed are neck and neck
Yeah.
for number 2.
Number
I'm not sure which I love more.
Number 4 for me is Cloud Atlas. Your number 4 is?
Matrix Reloaded.
Number 5 for me is Jupiter Ascending.
Bound.
Number 6 for me is Matrix Revolutions.
Same.
And number 7 is Matrix Reloaded.
Jupiter Ascending.
Okay.
Good stuff.
Okay.
Basically love them all.
Yeah, me too. I now sort of love the Matrix sequels, sort of warts and all. I love them as like my fucking troublemaking kids. You know, they're my 2 twins I have who are hellions, but I gotta love them. You know, they got the right genes in them.
Now, what's the deal with this book report?
Okay, I'm going to read it. We'll see if I read the whole thing. We might post the rest of it online. We have a Facebook page now. You should like us on Facebook. Here's an incentive. We'll post the full book report along with some fan fiction, some erotic fan fiction that was written. But this is from Adam Schwartz, a listener. We've gone over time, so we're going to end on this. Unfortunately, we're going to have to rain check Burger Report.
Well, do we have any burger reports?
I don't have any. Ben,
I mean, I've always got one.
yeah, so let's save that for next time. We'll load it up, and the Orange Twist file we'll save for next time.
I refuse to dignify that.
The Orange Twist file? The Fruit file? Do you like that name better? Okay. So this is from a friend of the podcast, Adam Schwartz. Here's the book report. The title is M. Night Shyamalan becomes wide awake after he visits a few schools and makes an unbreakable argument for why he has a sixth sense about locating signs of what is happening in our nation's school system and what it takes to fix it. Hint, it takes a village.
Holy shit.
There are two things that M. Night Shyamalan wants to make very clear to the readers of his book, I Got Schooled. One, that him and his foundation have, through copious amounts of research over a 4-year period of time, compiled 5 solutions that, when used concurrently, will successfully close America's education gap. And 2, that the person writing the book is visionary director M. Night Shyamalan. The main idea of the book stems from when M. Night Shyamalan was scouting locations for schools in the opening scene of The Happening. He noticed one of the schools he visited was shitty, so he decided to take it upon himself to fix it. Why? Because he's visionary filmmaker M. Night Shyamalan. In his own words from the book, he's the world's biggest optimist. He always has to be the world's biggest whatever. This causes Night to set up a dinner where he, his wife, Bhavna, and several other rich people, one of whom is simply named the social genius, I don't know why either, needs to once and for all fix, quote-unquote, America's educational system. This would all be fine if it weren't for Knight's constant backpatting of himself. When you can't figure out who is to blame, his wife tells him, M. Night, that's because you don't believe in enemies. Barf. I think you mean snarf. The 5 keys to closing the education gap I mentioned earlier are based on the ideas that the keys to make a person healthier, don't smoke, eat less fatty foods, etc., only work when you do them all in tandem. And if he was going to close the education gap, he wanted to find a similar list of 5 things. He allegedly does this, and the middle part of the book is devoted to explaining each of the 5 keys, which are no roadblock teachers, the right leadership, feedback, smaller schools, and more time in school. I'm not going to get into the middle portion of the book because it was where he got into detail on each of the 5 keys, and it seemed like it was a well-researched collective of different studies that M. Night used to back up his points on why they'd be effective. It's easy to read, and I think I learned a little bit about the American education system. Okay. I also learned what food M. Night was eating every time he met with someone. Jesus Christ, he always mentioned what he was eating. The man really loves food. End of report.
Somebody reported on education for 5 years.
Yeah. Thank you, Adam, for that book report.
That was
book
so
report was
good.
great. Book report was
great
great.
job.
What do you guys want to give him? An A+?
No, just an A.
I'm going to give him an A.
Yeah,
Okay.
strive. Always you want to strive. Right?
But I don't want to give anyone an A+ because I want that to be the thing we're all
I want to
working
give
toward.
myself a chicken sandwich. Is what I want to give myself.
Somebody's hangry. All
I'm
right,
going to do the
let's
same
do
thing.
this.
Okay,
No,
Adam Schwartz, thank you for the book report.
Thank you. M. Night, it's just a lot of rich people try to change the school system in one day just by, cobbling together a bunch of shit. Small schools have been statistically proven to be no better than big schools. A lot of other research I could give you, but this is not the time or the place.
Yeah, also,
doesn't matter.
How are you going to fix schools if you can't adapt The Last Airbender? I mean, come on, one step at a time. You got to walk before you can run. These things are on the path.
So we got to do Sense8 next week because we haven't even really said goodbye to the Wachowskis.
Whoa, we're doing Sense8 next week, and we're doing the Animatrix after that.
So now I have to watch 13 episodes of Sense8.
Yeah.
Woo!
Cannot wait. It's only 12, but they're each an hour long.
Oh, my God.
And a Netflix hour, not 44 minutes.
No, I know
They're
what
like
you mean.
57.
Peak TV, am I right?
Peak TV, am I right? Thank you, Adam. Fan fiction will post onto our Facebook page as encouragement to like that.
Please like us
join
on Facebook.
the Facebook page.
Join
keep
the
on following us on
Facebook
Twitter.
revolution.
By the time you're listening to
You know
this,
what's cool? $1 billion.
the Facebook Reloaded. By the time you're listening to this, the poll will be online on our Facebook and our Twitter, so please vote.
I love how we were like, we'll be done by 3.
Yeah, right?
right.
Jesus Christ, we're a bunch of assholes.
All right, let's go. All right, as always.
And as always, love dogs. I've always loved dogs.
I've always loved dogs.
I've always loved dogs.
This has been a UCB comedy production. Check out our other shows on the UCB Comedy Podcast Network.